You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. It's Colorado Week.
And the ball coming down to Rogers at the 37. He reverses his field. Now he goes back up the other way. He's to the 40, 45, 50, 40. He's to the 35, to 30, 25, and down he goes.
We know what the N for on our helmet stands for. We understand that completely.
For the Cornhuskers. And front. It doesn't pay off. Will Shields has got the football.
The old Fumblerooski on that play.
At the Buffalo 47-yard line. Calvin Jones. He's going to go.
Nebraska, Colorado.
Hawkins deep over the middle, ball tipped down. It is going to be intercepted by Jones.
Back to throw his games. Colorado sends a blitz. Joe throws it down the field. That's Mike McNeil, the tight end. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Nebraska. Mike McNeil from Joe Gans from 53 yards out.
Huskers, Buffaloes, this Saturday.
Let's see, they're going to put it down, yep, at the 47-yard line. So if he would have hit it, it'll go in the books as the longest in school history. This is an attempt of 57 yards. Does he have enough? Is it long enough?
Second and 10. Hawkins in the gun, gets a snap. Set, throws, batted down. Good enough to 2. To the 20, 15. Hawkins trapped him, knocked him. Touchdown, Sioux.
Thinks he's a running back. No, I keep telling him he thinks he's Walter Payton. But good for the big fella. He's played his butt off all year, and great win for a program.
Nebraska, Colorado.
Well, my dad said that he never lost to them. So
Snap back to Raiola. Step throws toward the end zone for Banks. Goes up, makes a catch, and it is a touchdown, Nebraska. Jamal Banks outleaped a couple of defenders and pulls it in there for 6 points.
Huskers, Buffaloes in prime time.
Looking for Nayor, makes a catch inside the 15 to the 10 to the 5. Touchdown, Nebraska.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. What's up, DB?
What's going on, man? Shane, nice intro, man.
He's getting me all fired up. I still got, I still got 36 hours to make it to this thing, Shane. You're killing me.
That ain't too bad.
No, that'll do.
We'll hear from one of the guys in those highlights coming up here.
That's right. One of the more iconic moments in recent Husker history. We'll talk to Alex Henery at 7:30.
Yeah, not too bad. Get a little perspective on the rivalry. Because, that's what it is, right? I mean,
100%.
It's not just about how many times you play them. I think a lot of it is about the disdain and the intensity for every time you tee it up. So, this one's going to be a good one.
And, I actually have to give Coach Prime a little credit here.
Oh.
Coach Dion.
Okay.
Because nothing has created more disdain in my heart for Colorado than Deion Sanders. So I want to thank him for recreating that rivalry a little bit.
Yeah, Deion got loose, man. Deion did not like former NFL guys getting at the limitations potentially of one Travis Hunter. Yeah, C.J. Gardner and Champ Bailey got the brunt of Coach Prime's wrath. Stop telling people what they can and can't do, Coach Prime said.
That's kind of the entire game of NFL draft.
You're
analysis.
Not going to defend him, so I'm not, I don't need that perspective, but I get
it from a coach.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
I get it from a coach.
From a coach. Right?
Like if somebody was talking about one of your guys.
Yeah.
We had this with Anthony Rizak last year, right? Bunch of people telling Anthony what he couldn't do, a bunch of people telling us what he couldn't do, why he was a Division I quarterback, whatever. I get it. When it's your guy, you stand up for him, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, he's riding. So I think, I did 2 shows in Colorado, got one more to do today, and just talking about it, and I'm not even in it.
Mm-hmm.
I am, but I'm not. I'm not. Whatever. But, I can get fired up just having the conversation, right?
Get a little bristled?
Yeah, I know what it's like to enter that stadium in Boulder. It's a lousy place to get into and out of, kind of one way, and getting hit with snowballs. I remember being on my first unofficial Dante Jones was my host. I went down there with my buddy Brian and
the tight end Dante Jones,
DN, defensive end from La Plata, Maryland.
Gotcha.
And I watched Bieniemy run wild in the second half. I remember redshirting in '92, pissed, but going bananas over the crowd on Halloween. So I mean, it doesn't take. I think Cordell Stewart, I can't remember. Somebody's got to look it up. He may have started 0 of 16 or he was 0 of something
in '94
against us when up there at their place.
11.
I remember Amon housing one early and Teal calling his shot. I remember, 16 tie when it's freezing. Like you just rattle off the names, man. Chris Hudson and Canavis McGee and Joel Steed and Chad Brown. And I mean, they had some fellas.
Yes.
So it's like, doesn't take much to put the quarter in
so,
at all. Let's go get it.
I know you have a high level of dislike for Colorado.
Tremendous.
Are they at the top of the list?
Yeah. No,
is anybody close? It's just Colorado with a bullet.
Yeah, I mean, Texas for a while was right there.
But you only played them the once.
Yeah.
So there's not quite as much.
No, but I mean, they elicited the worst feeling.
Sure.
Like,
cool, because they kept you from winning a national championship in '96, right?
Yeah, like that. And I can easily recall that.
Yeah.
Like I remember sitting on that bus.
Sure.
So like they're
pretty high.
Yeah. But that's it. I mean, I'm over K-State. I never hated Oklahoma.
Well, Oklahoma wasn't any good while you were there.
So it's like I didn't even hate them as a kid.
Yeah.
And they're whipping Nebraska's tail. So just Colorado.
Just Colorado
and Texas.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, there wasn't much else happening.
That's true. At least not on a consistent year in year out basis.
Nah.
Kansas State got better after you left.
Yeah.
So they were. I think a lot of people.
I kind of more made fun of them.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that's cute. Nice little program.
Right. I just clearly it's like, I mean, Ed Stewart, man, K-State, still K-State. Like that's how I.
Yeah. It's
like that's how I feel about it.
I think the animosity for K-State for Nebraska fans started with the face mask. The Eric Crouch face mask.
Well, I think it was the decade of dominance without really having any dominance, right? The DVD that came out.
Yeah.
I hope so. So, I mean, this one is, I was talking in Neb City yesterday, and it's one of the keys for Nebraska is you got to stay in the moment, right? And it sounds real cliche and kind of coachy, but I think the environment will be electric. And so you can soak it in and embrace it, but like there are these things that happen right when those games start, and you got to settle in quickly. The team that settles in the quickest will give themselves the best chance to get off to a good start, because there'll be a lot of that managing. Because internally, and Coach Rule didn't take the bait, but I've been, you don't want to make it about a culture war or our brand versus their brand. I mean, you can talk about some of the things that you can get over the hump. Remember, we were playing a team last year, and I wouldn't call it a quote unquote culture game, but we did say, hey, if this gets a little hairy, what we stand for will get us over the top.
We trust what we stand for more than we trust.
You can have those conversations,
internally
as a motivating factor for stability, but that's ultimately not what it's going to come down to. It's kind of how I feel about it, right? You still got to go line it up and manage emotions. So, I mean, this one's should be a good one.
So I'm glad you brought up managing emotions. This is something I've kind of been thinking about all week, and I'm glad I didn't bring it up before today, because Coach Rule actually talked about it yesterday, right? With the Errol Spence, Bud Crawford fight that he was talking about showing his team earlier this week.
Yeah.
And how
my man has an affinity for Terrence Bud Crawford.
You know how I know that, like, he's a real Nebraska guy? Because he loves Bud.
Well, I mean, that's the first thing he's like, I've been here such and such amount of time, and you're supposed to be the guy, man. I haven't met Crawford. That dude's like trying to bottle smoke, man. You ain't gonna quite get him all.
It's hard to hard to hit him. It's hard to catch him.
It's traveling, man.
He's
But yeah, I did like, and I do like that. And I remember, and he's a pugilist fan.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I told you he was asking, hey, what time do you think that fight will start?
Yeah.
And why, you trying to get him off the field for the scrimmage, or you want to know when to let the coaches go? That thing ain't starting until 11, man. You'll be all right. But it is a lot. It is that crowd. I mean, you got a bunch of old heads in the stadium, and everybody's doing like those nostalgia stories, and 94 team will be back, and it's a lot because those guys don't really have a sense. Now you're bringing some old guys to talk, kind of set the stage, but I don't know. It's just one more thing to put on the plate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the thing I was kind of trying to figure out in my head was, we like when Coach Rule says the quiet part out loud. So, and we've mentioned for a while, like, hey, you've got to be able to call something a big game and go out and meet the moment, right? You can't shy away from it. You can't fall flat on your face like we've seen Nebraska do for the past handful of years whenever they kind of gear up for one. How do you balance that, being able to say, hey, this is a big game and it matters, versus managing your emotions and coming in methodical and stoic, the way he was talking about Crawford going in?
You just say this is a big game and it matters, but it's in context of, are we going to be better in week 2 than we are week 1? Colorado is the opponent. This is our current benchmark. So you can still say what it is, but you stay right here, man. It's like, Columbus will be a bigger game than North because it's Columbus, right? But that's what we always talk about. You know what Nebraska always talks about? Getting the next one. It just happens to be Colorado. That's you look at that as a bonus, right? Ooh, marquee, brand name. You can understand what it is that you're dealing with in the macro, but at the end of the day, you still talk about being the best version of yourself, and you get to do it this week against Colorado. It can still be a big game, but it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's in sequence, of the bigger picture.
It's just the next step.
The next step, right? And I think that's how you have to look at it. I mean, the player, you don't have to tell them it's a big game. I mean,
right? They know. They feel it.
They know. It certainly doesn't feel like it did last week, right? I mean, they know.
Yeah, it's got a different vibe around it,
right? Like Caleb doesn't know anything about the intensity, right? Now he's maybe heard me say, I don't know, like if I'm talking to Doom or somebody, like he's maybe heard me talk about like snowballs being thrown or like the vitriol of fan bases, or I know clearly he's heard me say I hate Colorado, but this is years ago, right? But we were talking about this course this week in practice, and at the very end, he's like, it's personal. I'm like, how's it personal for you? But I don't mind though.
Yeah.
Right? That might be one thing I got right. Like some things you do take personal, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're consumed by the moment. It just means you understand what you're dealing with.
Is that kind of go back to the thing that Coach Rule talked to us about in Indy, the feeling emotions without being emotional?
Yeah. That's 100% what it is.
That makes sense.
It's 100% what it is. I mean, I could sit here and tell you that I coach every game the same. I don't feel the same about every game.
But as long as your process doesn't change.
Right.
You can feel however you feel, as long as the process sticks what it is.
Well, I mean, it's just how it goes.
Yeah.
And anybody, I think, that's telling you any different is being disingenuous. It's just you just don't get emotional about it. It's going to elicit different emotions, though.
Well, and so I like that distinction. I'm glad we were able to talk through that, because like I do think sometimes people are a little disingenuous and be like, oh, it's just another game. It's like, it's not really.
They're not telling the truth.
Right? Like I know it's almost like if you can't acknowledge that the emotions are heightened in this one, you're almost setting yourself up for failure, right? Because I guarantee you walk into that stadium on Saturday night, it's going to feel different than it did last week.
And you can't allow that to sneak up on your players.
Right. You have to kind of prep them for that.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, it's going to feel different.
Right.
It's like night game against Colorado. It's going to feel different than 2:30 against UTEP. And if you don't acknowledge that and help them out there a little bit, you're not doing
now.
any
If
favors.
they're on their A game, they will maybe make the correlation between feeling that first game and representing the U and first start for some, because there's still all those things that happen. Now it's just
or like you're Dylan Raiola, it's your first start in
now
Memorial
it's just
Stadium.
The incremental building block.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, believe me, it won't take long to let them know it's Colorado. It ain't tapping them on the shoulder like, hey, it's me.
Hey, by the way.
Yeah.
Let's get to our guy.
By the way, they're 100 yards away from us.
Are they staying over there?
Yeah, 2 big trucks out there. You can see it. Colorado Buffaloes.
Oh, yeah. I don't even look at the parking lot.
2 big rigs.
It's
a pretty truck.
A lot of people stay over here.
I know.
It's they don't like staying in Lincoln.
Nah, I wouldn't either. Doing too much.
I used to know somebody that worked over at that one. They would.
Plus, it's literally, I'm telling you. So from here,
it's like what, 30 minutes?
32.
Yeah, so that's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you could stay 3 miles away in Lincoln and take you 32 minutes with the.
Yeah. Probably take Schaefer 30 minutes to get to the stadium.
Yeah, probably from where he's at for sure. He's out in the sticks over there, not like come sail away, the other kind of sticks.
Yeah, that's a grown ass man right there.
Yeah,
big ass Ty Robinson.
No more Freddie Mercury references.
Well, that's the difference. Sticks is a different band.
That's right.
It's a whole different
Queen,
guy.
Sticks.
Brian May.
Him too.
You know, he's a physicist. Anyway,
Chad May.
Let's get.
I heard he did a lot of songwriting.
Chad Michael Murray. What?
What?
Yeah, it's
Aaron Murray. Did you see the
Georgia?
Yeah, he did a deal on Rayola's first start.
Let's get to our guy, Asian Wyatt, on the line. Wyatt, what's going on, buddy?
Good morning, guys. How's it going?
Good. How's that breakfast sandwich, man? You still kind of low key bringing that up a week later with your little regurgitation? Well, how we doing with that breakfast sandwich?
I was solid because I'm not even normally like because how was that egg cooked? Kind of overeat. No, it wasn't overeasy. But anyway, I normally don't like the eggs cooked that way, but I like it more like a scrambled. But that was delicious.
I think I was thinking about this, not to go all lamenting about a breakfast sandwich again.
You've been talking about the sandwich for a week.
I think the secret was the eggs. Why? Because the sausage was sensational. There's no doubt about that. But man, that egg, it's still, and I ate it cold. Wyatt, is that mildly disgusting, or are we cool with that?
I'm okay with cold food.
Yeah, man. 9 hours later, I crushed that thing. No problem.
Why? You gonna be down there tomorrow?
I'm gonna be down there. It's in some ways a little bittersweet. My one of our good friends, his name is Paul Chinisi. He has season tickets, and every now and then he'd invite me to a game. He passed away this past summer.
Yeah.
And his widow was very kind enough to give me the 2 tickets. So me and my best friend are gonna go down, and he'll definitely be channeling him. When I'm gonna plan to be as loud as AF during that game.
Loud as AF.
I like it.
Yep.
I like it, Wyatt.
Wyatt,
double A right there.
Hey, what's your feel? Do you like this team?
If I'm listening to you guys, I better.
It feels like the fan base is rallying. Like they're. I think they're confident in these guys.
Yeah, it just because everything, it just has that feeling that everything feels familiar from those of us who were alive, 25 years ago. It feels familiar.
You have a prediction, Wyatt? You got a feel?
My mind is my mind and heart are kind of blending together because it's the big plays. If we can prevent Colorado from limiting those big plays, and I feel like we can have a very comfortable win. That's maybe it's my heart overtaking my mind a little bit, but I feel maybe you can even get us up to like 30 to 21.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
You got the cover, 30 to 21.
Good. Yep. Going from good to great. All right, babe, be safe, Wyatt.
Yeah, I will. I hope we're all super, super happy here in about 45 hours.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It's good math, too, Wyatt.
Wyatt?
You know, Asian.
And
although I'm actually
there's the walk-off.
I'm actually one of those not so great at math Asians. Yeah, my wife. Anyway.
All right, buddy. Wow. Must be Friday.
Incredible.
Yeah. A little R. Kelly moment in a good way. My mind's telling me no.
I was like,
but my body.
That's not where my mind went when you brought up R. Kelly. And I was like,
is that 12 play? I can't
12 play?
I think that's the name of the song.
Oh.
I got to remember the lyrics. But that's who sings that song.
Yeah.
But my body's telling me yes. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know that one.
Yeah. You do?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know some R. Kelly. Yeah. Just the music. Strictly the music.
Selfish.
No, when you said R. Kelly moment, I was like, it's not raining in here. I don't know what's going on.
Wow. Oh man. That's trifling.
That thing wet.
Wow. Let's go back to that thing. Like, don't pee on my shoes and tell me it's raining. You're awful. I need for you to go home. Go to your room. Go to your room. And don't come back. Feel free to find that corner.
It's your fault. You brought him up.
It's wild. It's wild. You're wrong for that.
Yeah, probably.
I feel like that's not anywhere.
No? A little out of pocket?
It's my bad. Not as bad as seeing dudes silhouettes, but it's okay. No tension, Shane. It is football Friday.
Seeing dudes what?
Huh?
What'd you say? It's not as bad as what?
Oh, somebody was saying something about man in silhouettes and stuff yesterday.
Yeah. Well, it's Queen,
Stop
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Stop it.
It's a great song. It's all-timer.
Yeah. Scintillating.
Coming up at 7:30, as we mentioned earlier, we're going to talk to Alex Henery, former Nebraska kicker. 7:45, we will get our high school football fix. Guy Rosenberg, head football coach at Elkhorn South, will join us. 8 o'clock, we've got Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska. Big recruiting weekend for Nebraska here. You know what's funny about Tim? I had never met him in person until last week.
Mm-hmm.
Ran into him 3 times in like 4 days.
No way.
So I saw him at.
Certainly wasn't at a restaurant.
No, I saw him at. What's that mean? You think only it's Indian food?
I know
no, I don't.
You don't eat Indian food.
I'm just saying he could go other places.
It's not what I was saying.
I ran into him.
Dude, go home, man.
I ran into him at Miller North.
Yeah. At
the Miller North game on Friday. Then of course he was in the press box on Saturday, and then Monday, the wife and I were out at a store, and he was there too.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, what's up, man?
Oh, what's up, man?
What's going on?
Maybe you guys are neighbors.
Probably not.
Oh.
Well, I mean, his last name's different. I think we're from different regions. Like in Omaha neighbors. Maybe. He might live in the same part of town as I do. At 8:45, we're going to talk to Jeff Hauser, editor for buffsbeat.com.
Incredible.
9 o'clock, our Friday regular Mike Sautter, Hurrdat Sports, NAB Preps. Millard South had themselves a night last night.
Yeah,
and
the proverbial mud hole.
Yeah, we'll wrap up the show with our guy, Matt Vrzal, former Husker, owner of Paisan's Pizzeria.
So bad.
Does Verz hate Colorado as much as you do?
Yeah.
Anybody else he hates even close?
Oh, no, Shane.
You got Shane?
Yeah.
Is Florida State up there on that list? Somebody brought them up.
I don't hate Florida State.
No? Just didn't like the way they made you feel?
No.
Alex Henery coming up next.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Ball right on the end. The snap is down. The kick is up. The kick is on its way, and the kick is good! He makes it in there!
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DBM Ravi, Lulla. And we're joined now by Alex Henery, who made that famous kick. Alex, former Husker kicker, how are you this morning?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, good morning, Alex. You know, it's interesting to talk to you. We were just talking about some of I coached with Coach Queen and Coach Lamanji. We were talking about pregame rituals, and you were the topic of conversation a couple of weeks ago. And lo and behold, I get to talk to you 2 weeks later, man. How you been?
Good. Hopefully my pregame rituals are pretty good.
Yeah, they were mesmerized. Coach Lamanji tells the story. I was like, I just was watching him kick, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was telling my coaches, you got to come see this guy.
That's funny.
And he's not very emotional, so to hear him tell a story like and have like an affinity for somebody, it was like, wow, he must have really liked Alex, because he didn't say anything nice about a whole lot of people, man. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, you too.
Alex, let's jump right into this Colorado rivalry. I was talking with DB in the first segment. He's got a certain perspective on this team. Obviously, when you were playing Colorado, they weren't nearly kind of in the same place as a program as deep as they were when DB was playing, but it still seemed like there was quite a bit of animosity there. Like, how did that team feel when Colorado was on the schedule?
Yeah, it's definitely just one of those, rivalry tradition games that, it's on the schedule, and you gear up for it as the week comes, and it's one of those that you definitely want to win when you look at your overall schedule. So it's just one of those things. Everyone knew about it, knew the history on it, and it was always a fun game to be a part of.
Alex, let me ask you something. It from because Ravi was asking about like managing emotions, and I tried to generalize it, but it may actually be specific for particular position groups. When you're dealing from a kicking standpoint, right, that isolated singular moment for what you do you feel like, or did you have to channel and process emotions differently than, like, let's say the other 10 guys that may be on the field?
Yeah, I think the big difference is, as a kicker, you're not out there all the time, right? So you only have you may only get 3-4 opportunities a game. And, if you're playing in Colorado and people are yelling at you, and, you got to really focus in when your time's called and make sure you're ready to go. It's just, you may only get one shot at it. And if you're not in the right headset or mindset or whatever, you're not going to perform when you need to perform. And so it's just trying to block out all the noise and make sure you're ready to go when your number's called. And that's probably the biggest difference from all the other guys, is just trying to capitalize on your opportunities when you're called on. So.
Alex, I've always been curious, when you're in that moment, obviously you've got the famous Colorado kick, and that set the school record for the field goal. When you're in that moment, do you allow yourself to think about kind of the context of the game, or is it always just, hey, this is the job, go make the kick? Like, are you thinking time and score and sort of game situation at all, or is it just all about that particular kick?
Yeah, you do think game situations just because you want to be ready to go and kind of know, hey, we need a field goal here, or hey, I'm not going to be really up probably because we need a touchdown, or, that kind of thing. So you're always thinking that, always trying to stay into the game. It was my mindset. I never just wanted to wait till they're like, oh, you're up and off we go. It was more trying to stay in the game and, act like you're part of the bigger picture of the game and not just focus on yourself. So, and then it's just controlling. The big thing is just controlling your emotions when it's coming. It's, if you know that, your team's got the ball in the 20 and they got to make a drive to kick a field goal here, it's, it's coming, and it's how do you handle those situations and how do you prepare yourself to be able to handle the, what happens to your body as those emotions start flowing. So that's the big thing, is just being able to control those aspects and getting the mind right and ready to go.
Talking with Alex Henery here, the former Husker great. Well, actually, I always struggle with former. Like, I almost never say former. I think you're always a Husker. You're always going to be a Husker A train. But Alex, let me ask you something just on a different level. Obviously, I coached Tristan Alvano for his career at Westside and talked to him all the time. And there's this falling back on your training model, right? That goes with athletics and the repetition and recreating the moment. He's had some injuries. He's working through that. Had some emotional ups and downs kicking. If you were going to open up a school, right, and you're going to say, hey, listen, pressure-packed situations, it's never easy. We're going through 3 or 4 times a day or a game. You've always got to be on. Where do you fall on the falling back on your training versus just staying in the moment? Because it seems like with a lot of the special teams guys, the preparation is so regimented. I always wonder if you guys like forget to have fun, right? I mean, Hurrdat was super high strung, and you guys are very, very particular. What's that balance like?
Yeah, it's interesting, kicking is a lot like golf. It's, you can go to the range and hit all day. It's trying to put yourself in situations that when your number's called, and always explain it as, you're playing basketball at home and you got 5 seconds left. You're Michael Jordan trying to hit the last second shot, trying to put you in those situations in a practice to be ready for when that situation comes on a game day, trying to make it more lifelike, right? So yes, a lot of everything is, hey, you're going to the driving range and you're trying to hit the same ball all the time from different angles, but it's trying to simulate, really what a game-winning field goal could feel like. And I do a camp during the summer, and we try to put kids and take them out of your element of just saying, hey, everything may not go right when you're out there on the field, but try to put you in situations that you know how to handle things when things don't go right or something's a little off, or you stumble on your steps or all that kind of thing. There's a lot of things that can go wrong that can get in your mind, and just trying to simulate that and being ready for a game situation like that.
From high school to college to the NFL, I'm seeing a lot more injuries with specialists, but you guys are also bigger, faster, stronger. It's crazy to see on a Sunday in the NFL. I mean, guys just routinely making field goals from 55 yards out, right? It's like these guys have these hammers now. Like, what's changed in your opinion with the training that has added to this superior leg strength that we've been seeing here the last handful of years?
I think so much of it is kids are specializing at such a young age, and there's so many more kids at this age that are specializing in kicking than even just say back when I was kicking. I played soccer and I did kicking for fun, and I think
I just wound up in the NFL.
Yeah, but I all those Darren Erstead, Sam Cook, Brett Maher, they're all I feel like we were all really good athletes that kind of fell into kicking. I think today's day there's a lot of really good athletes that are trying to specialize in it from such a early of an age where in the past that may not have been the case. So I don't know, that's my thought. But
do you equate it to like these pitchers now that throw so hard, and we've seen all these arm injuries, like with the power and the strength that comes from kicking? The evolution is you're just going to see the frequency of injuries increase.
Yeah, and I think there's a certain I mean, much like I don't know anything about pitching, but much like pitching, kicking, there's a certain way you can do it that you're not, if you're using your groin and your weak muscles to kick, there's the likelihood of you injuring yourself is a lot higher than if you're actually turning your foot over, getting your knee straight to your target. So you're using your quads and your hammies. There's much less, apt for getting hurt. So I would say, there's the kickers these days are so strong. It's just when I work with guys, it's trying to get them so they're using the right muscles and they're not going to injure themselves, and trying to take care of them to get more longevity out of their leg, much like a pitcher.
Alex, we appreciate you joining us. We hope you enjoy the game tomorrow, and I hope the result is just like the last time Nebraska played Colorado when the coach's kid was playing quarterback.
Yes, go Husker.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it.
Alex, we appreciate it. That's Alex Henery, Husker, not a former Husker, always a Husker, and the owner of the longest field goal in Nebraska history. We appreciate him joining us. Guy Rosenberg, head football coach of Elkhorn South, coming up next on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. It's the Friday Coach's Corner.
This is a process that we're going through. And although we're looking for the winning edge, shortcuts aren't one of them.
Hello? This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game.
Can you believe they called that play?
I formation, quick 141.
94. Fullback banana, hot right.
Right left, wide, nasty, 16 league pass.
Just what were those coaches thinking?
They are who we thought they were. We let them off the hook.
On the Friday Coach's Corner.
Hey, the spot! He's up here, sir.
You misplaced the line of scrimmage, you bunch of dummies.
It's the Friday Coach's Corner.
Wrapping up hour number one with Coach's Corner here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DBM, Ravi, Lulla, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We are joined now by Guy Rosenberg. He's the head football coach at Elkhorn South. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, Coach. Good morning, man. You guys ready to go?
Yes, sir. It's good to have a nice regular week here without heat modifications and switching days of games. So, yeah, the players are locked in and ready to roll, and we're excited to get on the bus and go over and play Bell West.
Yeah, let's stay right there because it's one of the marquee matchups of the week. And you're a creature of habit, and you're very good with routine. I think that's lent itself to all your consistency. How difficult, even as experienced as savvy as you are, how difficult is it when you have to manage those schedules like that? I mean, routine is exactly that, right?
Right. Well, I do think we try to be as routine as possible, just like that you guys do, just because don't want players to expend energy, worrying about things that are out of their control. And so it seems like when there's that routine, you can get right into just it's established, and you don't have to. You're just on autopilot, I think, as far as in that case. So. We just wanted to make sure that was something we talked about last week, though. Hey, we don't have any control over when the game's going to be played or if it gets delayed or postponed. So
let other people worry about that. I say, kind of let the civilians worry about that, and you guys go about your business and just be ready to go when the lights come on. We got to be ready to go. And I would say that it's one of those things that most people don't care about your problems, and some people are glad that you got them. So they said all they're going to do is they're going to get up the next morning, and they're used to be in the old days they'd open up the newspaper, but hey, that they're going to check scores online, and the person that's looking at the score, they could care less what the circumstances were that were leading up to the game. All they know is who won and lost. And so I just figure that's our job, to produce the best score we can and the best dash between the score, because to me that dash between the numbers is the quality of play, and that's something we have direct control over. And so that's always our goal each week, is to do whatever we can to take care of the scoreboard, but to make sure that dash is up to our standard, and it's something we can all take pride in together.
Well, Coach, whatever the circumstances, didn't seem like they bothered you too much last week. Pretty convincing win over Lincoln East, but I know how coaches think. I'm sure that 38-5, there was something there that you weren't in love with. What were some of the things you were focusing on getting better at between week 1 and week 2?
Well, I think that the key word just right there was in your question, just sustained focus. That's we need to play a complete game and need to have sustained focus throughout the whole practice. It was where we did a good job of getting out and taking control of the game in the second quarter, and we really pride ourselves on finishing the last 4 minutes of the half, and then getting things started for the start of the second half, the first 4 minutes of the second half, and I made a poor decision right at the end of the first half to put back a punt returner when we'd had him stopped on defense, and East ended up getting the ball right inside our 5-yard line and was able to get a score right before the half. And got a ton of respect for East. Just again, I've known those Coach Ging and those coaches for years. I used to be an assistant down there, and so of course they fought back and came and really got after us there in the third quarter and made a game of it, and we had to fight our way out of that corner. So I think that just if we could have finished out the first half stronger and started out the third quarter stronger, we could have taken a real stranglehold on the game and made our lives a lot easier down the stretch. So I'd say overall, from a big picture standpoint, it's just that sustained focus and sustained effort to particularly at the end of halves and at the start of halves.
So I know I've known you long enough to know where I'll only use individual names to prove to get to the analogy, but you don't have, we won't go into the individual accolades. I know you're very team oriented, but when you talk about guys like Sutko and Geezer and Madden Riggs, whose evolution is coming, and Shanahan and some of these guys that are now full-time roles on a really good team, what's it been like to transition from losing a fair amount a year ago, a team that was very successful, to having these guys come into their own as kind of that next group that embodies the consistency that has been Elkhorn South?
Well, I'm just so proud of all our players, particularly the seniors. And you mentioned a couple guys, our captains, Madden Riggs and McWhorter Geezer, Mason Newman, and Brody Parks. But they're the guys that are out front carrying the flag. That I really feel like you can't have enough leaders, and that we try to be real intentional as far as with the culture. Coach Vance, we have a legacy by James Kerr about leaving the jersey better than you found it. We had a senior book club that was there. We have a big brothers that have mentors and have mentees. And so last night when we had a team meal, the big brothers sit with the little brothers. And so I think that just that clear standard that's flows within the program, I think it allows us to be consistent from year to year, that we really talk about building a program, not a team. We've got great coaches at all levels, like Coach Hunter, our freshman team. Our A team just beat Millard South 27-0 on earlier in the week.
It's a good young group.
A good start. And then they're working hard there. So I think that's just it has to be passed from generation to generation of players of, hey, this is the expectation. If a guy isn't doing something the way it's supposed to be done, it's most effective. As coaches, we're going to be on them, but for older players to say, hey, that's not how we do it here. So just really proud of all those guys working together. And as you mentioned too, hey, we got some playmakers. Gavin Shanahan, outstanding running back. Yeah. Landon Tate, he's a guy I think that's flying under some people's radar. I'm sure he probably got on it a little bit more during track season with how well he runs in that 4x1 and 100 and 200. But just last week he had, I think it's his second 95-yard plus interception return for a touchdown. that really flipped the tide of the game in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Against East. So I think it's just a big belief that it's kind of overall that, hey, you have to be working behind the scenes so that you're ready when your time comes. That I tell guys that it's not like, again, a lot of my comparisons are getting old fashioned, but it's like, you're not waiting in line for concert tickets. Just because you're at the front of the line doesn't mean, just standing in line isn't enough. You need to be actively working because there's going to be younger players that are going to be working. So I think it's a matter of players preparing themselves so that when the guy in front of them graduates, they're ready to go. And I think the way that we systematically rotate players, I think that helps guys to be ready. And so I think it's kind of the same thing how it is within a game. I heard just on my drive over, I heard Alex Henery talking there about getting ready for the moment for kicking a big field goal and being aware of the situation. And it's too late to get ready when the time comes. You have to be ready ahead of time. And so I think that's within the game. What's important now? What do I need to be thinking about as a player? So I'm ready if I would go in. And then same thing off season and game week. What do I need to be doing so that I'm ready when I've earned the opportunity to be out there on the field?
Man, I love it with the book club. I mean, we read over it's like, and Ravi's listening, he smiles. It's a lot. There's so many similar. It's no, gosh, I could see it, Coach. The big brother, little brother, the mentee thing, the books, the reading. It's amazing how in 2024, with all that's going on, and the game is this or the game is that, like the core is still the core when you talk about the ultimate team game. It's just beautiful to listen to you talk about. Let's get to the opponent. It's a little bit different Bellevue West team than we're accustomed to seeing. Added the quarterback run game dimension. Obviously, they had a barn burner last week with Central. What concerns you a little bit with your opponent tonight in such an early season key matchup?
Well, I mean, just that Bell West, they got a tradition of excellence, and they're always going to be innovative offensively. And again, quarterback run game. I'm a big fan of the quarterback run game myself, and I know that you are as well.
Yeah.
And I think it just really helps out as far as what you talked about with the game changes and evolves year after year, but it's still a game of winning with reliable people and with numbers, and having a running quarterback makes a big positive difference. And I know that Bell West, particularly down there in the red zone, that you're going to get a heavy dose of a quarterback run. And so I think just too, he's an outstanding quarterback that's multi-dimensional, can throw, makes excellent decisions, can run. And so anytime you've got a trigger man like that, it's a real challenge defensively. But again, we've got an amazing defensive staff, and they do a great job of putting together a plan each week. And I'm real excited what they have in place. And I'm real excited, to go get a chance to go over. And these are the type of games that just you really look forward to as a coach and as a player, getting a chance to get on a bus and have it be a true road game where you're traveling a little bit before you get there, and all it is that everybody you got on the bus against the world. So it's going to be a fun night.
Coach, I'm always curious when you've got a lot of changeover. Obviously, you guys had it from last year, this year. Your opponent this week, Bellevue West, has a lot of change from last year to this year. And schematically, you mentioned all that QB run game. That's not something they were really doing a lot last year. How much do you have to rely on kind of what you know about the coaching staff and what you know about the personnel versus what you've seen on tape prior to just the one game they played last week?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, you're right there. I think that it's more overall of, kind of personalities and profiles of teams and coordinators over the years. And it seems like now too, talking about the modern game, just there's so much more information that's available, whether getting a chance to meet with schools or, clinics and online, that a lot of times you're not sure, particularly when you're playing somebody in the season opener, even if they have a very, very strong identity as a program, that you're not sure, hey, what new players are going to be in place?
Yeah.
How are they going to adapt their scheme to their players? So I think that definitely that, with, Bellevue West, always a tradition, is going to be taking shots downfield and, making you defend the whole field. And I think now also too with the quarterback run game, I know it seems like that back in years before too, that a lot of times down there in the goal line area that they would go wildcat, and a lot of times it would be a running back that would be there, or maybe they'd go empty wildcat. And now it just seems like that's more where they've got a similar type scheme, but now it's with their quarterback that's down there. So I think that you're right that most, excellent programs have strong identities, right? That there's not going to be a huge fluctuation from year to year, right? That there's going to be modifications that are made based on the personnel they have. But you're right, now it's such a small sample size that you kind of have to still be there on game night and get confirmation of, hey, are they lined up the way that we think that they're going to be lined up?
Coach, appreciate the time. Good luck this week, and we'll catch up again soon.
Best wishes, Coach.
Well, great talking with you guys. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
That's Guy Rosenberg, head football coach at Elkhorn South. We'll be back with Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
I mean, there's still a lot of hips by play, so it's really, I don't even know how I haven't seen Sat and the offensive staff's openers yet. So, it could be really any of the guys to start it, but Ramir, the first time we go out on third down, Ramir will take those snaps, and so I think it'll be pretty close to the same. It's just I don't know how exactly the game will start.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. We've got Tim, Shane?
Yeah, he's here. All right, he was for a second there, but we'll get him back.
We're going to get our guy Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska here in just a minute. Appreciate Coach Rosenberg talking to us on game day. I know how you coaches get a little squirrely on game day sometimes.
No, that's good. I mean, I like the insight. I love the whole, like we have books, we do a chapter a week, a reading. We do the big brother, little brother, the mentee. Like that's, I don't know. I think that stuff matters, man. Culture taken a long way. And I think it's sometimes it's overused. It's because we don't understand it, but
yeah,
it's a good deal.
We will bring in now our friend, Tim Verghese, inside Nebraska. Tim, how you doing this morning?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Went out to go see Miller South last night. Dominant win.
Yeah. What'd you take away from that one?
I don't think anyone in the state stopping that offense. I think it's a combination of, the talent we kind of knew on paper was going to have a chance against any team in the state. But then watching them last night, they're running the Tennessee offense. You're seeing wide splits. You're seeing stack formations on both sides. You're seeing 9-8-9s, and Jet can whip it. Jet's just ripping it 40, 50 yards downfield, dropping it in a bucket against the sideline. He looked really good last night, and he's got a real nice group of pass catchers to help on that side. Last night we saw on one side it's a stack formation with Chase Lofton and Isaac Jensen, and on the other side it's Deshaun Prince and Amarion Jackson. How many people in the state, how many teams in the state can cover that?
Oh, hopefully we'll get a chance to figure that out.
I'll say you're talking to a guy that hopes he certainly hopes he can.
Hopefully we get a chance to embrace that challenge.
Tim, I did want to stay on Jet Tamal here for a second because he's kind of an interesting piece for me. He doesn't get the accolades that a lot of the pass catchers get, but he is kind of the key to the whole thing there because ain't nobody getting that football without him. How have you seen him progress from last year to this year, both in the offense and with the pass catchers he's got?
Yeah, I kind of saw. So when I watched the sophomore film, before I even got a chance to meet him, way back in the spring, there were some questions with the throwing motion, the feet, again, just his processing, and we've seen general overall improvement in all of that. His fundamentals are a lot better, the motion's a lot cleaner. The feet are a lot more stable. I will say again, one thing yesterday, and something the offense doesn't grant him is it does give him a second to kind of make a read, but it does take him, a hot second to get to that open man. So I think that's something that's got to work is just that internal clock, that processing has to improve a little bit. But we've seen gradual improvement from him. I do like the general athletic floor he has. He's a really loose, fluid athlete at the quarterback position. You watch him move around the pocket. He can create if he needs to. He can extend plays. He's just a very mobile, bendy athlete, which you like to see at the position. Allows him to kind of do some things off platform, kind of whip that arm rather than having to plant and throw.
If nothing else, I like him for the fact that I think we just assume, he's got weapons and weapons and weapons, and that's always a good thing. And a lot of times it is, but you have to have a certain temperament to not feel the pressure when guys aren't, hey, man, I'm open, or, hey, you got to get me the ball, or who needs a touch, right? So sometimes that can be a little bit nerve-wracking. And for him, he seems, at least his demeanor, his body language and stuff, his command, he seems to not really be swayed by that. And I think that's kind of an underappreciated quality for a quarterback, because sometimes guys wanting a touch or needing a touch or feeling some anxiety from not getting enough targets can wear on a quarterback if you're not built emotionally for it. He appears to be built for that.
Yeah, he has that. He's just a calm play. You watch him in tough situations. He had a pick last night in a weird type of situation. Again, the game was out of hand at that point, but it was a pick that probably shouldn't have gone against him. And didn't really fight it, didn't really do anything, just took the ownership for it. And you saw that all offseason again. He's very calm, very cool. Very poised, and like you say, I do think that's both of those things, just being able to maintain that composure, and also again having that ability to not let that wear on you are two important things. And that's something that's becoming a lot more important for me at that quarterback position, is just that ability to step up in those big moments and be calm and be that team leader.
Tim, before we move on to Nebraska, any high school games you're heading out to tonight?
No, we've got some things I'm dealing with tonight, so nowhere tonight. If anything, I might stop through Bellevue West.
There you go.
That'll be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep an eye on Jaden Sutko. I'll be curious to watch his evolution through the recruiting process. He's got a chance to be a good one. Just a junior. Elkhorn.
Yeah.
Tim, let's
Did
get.
you say you were going to Nebraska?
What's that?
Did you say you were going to Nebraska?
Yes, I am. I'm going to Nebraska now. Tim, I thought his camera froze for a second, so I didn't know if he was going. Tim, obviously a big recruiting weekend for Nebraska. A bunch of guys that currently committed elsewhere, but still seem to have a bit of an affinity for Nebraska. How did some of those come together, whether it's Dawson Merritt or Cortez Mills? How did that start to happen as we got closer and closer to this Colorado game?
Wait, is Mills in or out?
Mills is in. Mills is in. As of what we know, he's in. And Oklahoma did really push hard, but does sound like he's making it into town, and they seem at least okay with it as we're heading into the weekend. As far as how both of this came together, I mean, we kind of talked all offseason how the job the staff does building relationships and maintaining those relationships. Merritt over the summer was like, he never really hinted at the exact names, but over the summer, when I last talked to him, he was like, yeah, I'm firmly committed to Bama, but there's a couple of schools, that I have good relationships with that I'm still having dialogue with. And reading between the lines there prior to his commitment, he always mentioned Nebraska's a school he's got the most relationships. Alabama's a school he's got the individual one-on-one best relationship at. So Nebraska's been in that mix pretty much since obviously since they offered, but even after he committed to Alabama, that was a narrow, like Alabama barely beat out Nebraska there. And Nebraska hasn't stopped pushing for him. Same thing with Cortez Mills. With both of those guys, I think what's also helping Nebraska here is both of those guys had opportunities to come on campus in the spring. Them and their families had opportunities to build relationships with Dylan Raiola and his family. And you've got now Dylan working on both of those guys, trying to get both in the class.
It's interesting. I get it, rightfully so. Sanders Jr. got a ton of the offensive line talk, but for as much as a guy as good as Cantwell can fly under the radar, even in this conversation, sometimes I feel like he's an afterthought. But, man, him being a part of this visit, getting a chance to spend some time with Coach Raiola, I mean, what can we say about Cantwell relative to his recruiting process of guys like Sanders? Appears to be the guy's a stud.
Yeah, and I think here's the difference between him and Sanders. With Sanders, if anything, the ceiling and the reason for his lofty ranking and all of that is because of his technique and athleticism and just the ceiling he has. Once he puts on some weight, he's kind of stuck around 265 intentionally, going to wait for that college program to put that weight onto him before his freshman year. And there's a chance this kid doesn't even play his freshman year. He kind of takes a redshirt year to kind of develop, add some weight gradually before kind of stepping into a bigger role as a sophomore. And right now at Tennessee, that opportunity is kind of granted to him. With Cantwell, that's a guy that's going to step on campus ready-made to play, but he's going to need some work on his technique. I think he's more similar to obviously the ceiling is higher and the floor right now is also already higher. There's a reason in their difference in rankings, but he's a lot closer to like a Grant Bricks, where it's like, you're bringing him on campus and your goal is in that first semester, in that first fall camp, is to develop him and get him to a point where he can hold up in pass pro, he can hold up against the run, and because he's got the raw tools, he's got the raw strength, he's got the raw power, he's got all of that. He's got good knee bend, all the things you like to see. Good athletic, again, just background. But with him, it's just a matter of working that technique, sharpening that technique, and that's the difference between the two. Is one, you're banking on this athletic phenom to put it together technique wise, and the other one, it's a guy with good technique and good athleticism that you just need some time in the weight room with.
Tim, another guy that's planning to visit, you talked about last week that if he was able to get back on campus for Nebraska, you thought all bets were off. That's Michael Terry. Well, coming back on campus for Nebraska, you still feel the same way, that this kind of opens up the door for Nebraska in a way that maybe it didn't feel like it was a week ago?
I think so. Texas continues to trend, and like I've kind of mentioned too, like the effort Texas has put in over the last month and a half has kind of started to see them separate. But there's something that keeps him coming back to Nebraska. You know, they've been the most consistent program in his recruitment. You know, they were on him hard as like a priority target before Texas was. You know, they were obviously on him before Oregon was. He's got multiple really good relationships. He really likes Lincoln. You know, a lot of the concerns there between the Terry family in Nebraska has just been the proximity, and then like again where Nebraska's status is compared to Oregon and Texas, who they see those two programs as contenders right now. They see Nebraska as a program that's a couple years away. I think Nebraska needs to show him and Merritt. Like, you know, with Mills, I think it's more about just the pass catching or the quarterback he's catching passes from. But with Merritt and Terry specifically, it's important for Nebraska this year to kind of show that they're on track to compete for championships, or at least contend for Big Ten championships when those guys would be on campus. You know, that's not saying do that this year. Obviously, that's an incredibly lofty expectation. And at this point, just seems difficult for Nebraska to do this year. We have to see, you know, let them check a couple other boxes off first, you know. But they just need to see that Nebraska is making that progress forward, because the programs they're both, or the other two programs that Terry's considering and the program that Merritt's considering or committed to right now, they're already in that championship hunt.
He's getting a fresh new haircut tomorrow morning before he heads to Lincoln, and he'll be on campus potentially with Dawson Merritt, even though I think CJ could play inside as opposed to outside. What do you make of the latest developments with Christian Jones?
Yeah, I mean, I still feel good about Nebraska here, you know, and I feel like, you know, going into the season, like last week helped him answer a couple of those questions he had about Nebraska. This week's another really good opportunity to help him answer some of those questions of just where this program is. You know, a lot was made of, because I talked to him after y'all's win last week, and you know, had that quote in there about I was like, what do you want to see from Nebraska? And he said, you know, I just want to see if the guys put the work in this offseason. And I had some people on, you know, the message boards being like, okay, why is a 17, 18-year-old kid like talking about a college program like this? Like what the, like, kind of referencing like that quote unquote entitlement. I don't think it's the case at all. Again, like for him, it's you have to remember here, he's been recruited since Scott Frost. He's been hearing this word from Nebraska about how well they've looked in the offseason and how much better the team's going to be this year. And then they come out and they don't show improvement whatsoever. So for him, it's just like, okay, they've said they've put in the work. Let me see. I mean, this is a kid that just wants, you know, obviously wants a lot of different things. And to those boxes, there's just one box left to check. And if Nebraska can do that, I think getting him on campus back-to-back weeks and keeping him away from Oklahoma should bode well for Nebraska here.
Tim, as we move our focus to the game tomorrow, what is the impact of a win against Colorado for some of these recruits, as opposed to, like, I know the atmosphere is a big part of it too, but is this kind of one of those, hey, they got to get over the hump here in a lot of these guys' minds?
I think so. I think you do have to a little bit with some of the 25s and some of the 26s that have followed this program for a while. For the rest of them, you know, there's a bunch of 26 targets and 27 targets expected in town. For them, just the atmosphere alone is going to make a big impact. You know, as long as Nebraska plays competitive, I think those guys are going to leave with a positive impression of Nebraska. That's just how it goes. You know, like even when I was back at A&M, when I was covering, you know, like Jimbo Fisher's program, there's a bunch of these big games under the lights where guys would come in and then they're just impressed with the Kyle Field atmosphere. You know, 110,000 rocking stadium at night. Win or lose, as long as you play competitive, you know, there's something to sell there. And but for guys like Christian Jones and guys like Dawson Merritt and those kind of guys, like I think a win tomorrow is a big, like, I think leaving tomorrow with that feeling that, okay, Nebraska can win these games. Nebraska can have the spotlight on them, and under Matt Rule, they're able to step into that spotlight and they're able to perform. But that's a big question that a lot of these guys just have not had answered, because Nebraska hasn't done it really in their lifetime.
What do you make of the Chase Lofton scuttlebutt here as of late?
Yeah, you know, I caught up with him last night, and he doesn't have any other visit plans that he's made publicly known outside of getting back down to Florida State once or twice this season. My personal feel on Lofton right now is I do think he's still pretty locked in with Florida State. But if you were to waiver too, I do think if Nebraska wanted to get back in that, I mean, obviously they're still having communication, but Nebraska would still need to jump Texas A&M. You know, I felt when he was going into his commitment in June in the first place, I felt like Texas A&M kind of had an edge on Florida State. Florida State kind of surprised me when that was the pick. And I still do think Texas A&M remains that school that's like best poised to or best positioned to flip him. Nebraska would be that third school right in there. But again, until he makes some visits and there's still a chance he pops through unannounced tomorrow and kind of surprises everybody. I wouldn't really count on it at this point, but again, I wouldn't really count on it either way at this point.
Yeah, I give him a lot of grace just because I sometimes I think, and I don't know, this isn't like, ooh, I talk to, mom, dad, or Chase. I just get the sense sometimes that it's okay if players, it takes a certain temperament to want to stay in state and deal with everything that comes with being an in-state, highly recruited person, right? Like, and it's okay, like, if that's not for you. I don't begrudge that at all. I mean, like, Josh Banderas would feel a lot different than, let's say, Baker Steinkuhler about staying in state as a highly recruited guy. Like, it's different for all in-state guys. So I'm willing to extend a lot of grace, man, because I think you need to be thoughtful about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for some of these guys, I think you also have to remember too, like, again, for someone like Lofton and some of these guys, it's like, okay, we were born and raised in Omaha, like lived around the state the whole time, haven't seen a whole lot else. Like for Lofton, it was just cool to get out to the East Coast and see Florida, like when he made that Florida swing through Miami and Florida State, it was just cool to do that. And these are life opportunities they have that they may not be extended, down the line, like this opportunity to go play and live in Florida, this opportunity to go play and live in Texas. For Christian Jones, when he was flirting with Auburn and Miami was in that mix too. It's just like,
I'm not mad at him if he wants to go to
Right.
Oklahoma Tennessee game. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine.
Exactly. Right. And so it's like, I get it, and that standpoint too. It's like, go live your life, like go experience something new. Like, I mean, you would hope that for young people, you hope that they want to go explore new things as much as that tradition and that pride of staying home means to this fan base and means to these guys. Like, again, at the end of the day, the guys that want to be here will be here. And the guys that don't, they'll find their home.
Tim, I'm curious because this is something I think about a lot with some of these guys, especially when they get into college, but as they're going through the recruiting process as well. When you talk to these guys, do they talk much about kind of the financial opportunity in terms of like, this is for especially the highly rated guys, can be a life-changing amount of money. It might be their best earning opportunities they ever have in their life. Like, is that something you hear them sort of process through real time, or is it more, hey, I'm highly recruited, I think I'm going to go to the NFL, I'm just trying to find the best place to get me to that next step?
And with the highly rated guys, I think what was actually kind of interesting is I'd say the top 100 to 150 recruits or so. For those type of guys, the market is relatively even across the board, where NIL doesn't actually become a factor because it's like, okay, at every school, I know I'm going to be making at least this much. And so, okay, hey, a school could come in and maybe throw a little more, just like any business. When you're outbidding, a school could come in and throw a little more at him and kind of be like, okay, like we'll throw a little an extra for you. Here's a car. Here's this. You know what I mean? But it doesn't really have as much of an impact as people think in the top 150 recruitment, just because there's money everywhere at this point with the schools they're considering. But it's when you start getting past that 150 number. I'm not going to name names here, but there was a Nebraska target this summer that committed elsewhere. And when we heard the numbers that the school that he committed to threw at him, it was like, oh yeah, I mean, go take that, because Nebraska wasn't giving you that. The other schools in your recruitment weren't giving you that. That was a much needed win for the team that got him, and they paid up to get him. But like, that's like, Nebraska's not going to deal with that, because they've got a higher targets that they can spend that money on. They don't really like to, again, spend it really in recruiting if they don't need to. And but they'll make sure the guys that need to be taken care of are taken care of.
Tim, when you look at kind of the Nebraska's recruiting portfolio, how the roster sits for tomorrow's game, what position group do you see paying the most immediate dividends against Colorado tomorrow?
I think the trenches. I keep coming back to that. I think Nebraska's improvement and dedication to developing both sides of the line. You're going to see a culture, like two different cultures, beat up specifically in the trenches tomorrow. Like, how you build that up is one. Like, Like Deion came in and he immediately turned over both sides of the line. And then he did it again this past offseason. So he's done that 2 off seasons in a row. And for Nebraska, it's like they came in and they inherited a bunch of, and this, like, think about the guys starting on both sides of the line tomorrow. For the most part, there's Michael Mazuka and Ben Scott and Justin Evans. Those guys are relatively new. But on both sides of the line, these are guys that have been here with previous staffs and didn't reach the ceilings that they already have under Matt Rule and Tony White and Donovan Raiola. So you're seeing development on display. You're seeing, and it built depth up. Like, I do think Nebraska is going to be able to go 2-3 deep potentially at Jack and give Colorado's tackles some trouble. And on the interior, I've got some real questions. Like the further we go back in the film, me and Steve Marek this week kind of talked about it too. But the further we go back on the film, just from this early game and going back to last year and watching some of these guys back on tape, there's an opportunity for Ty and Nash to just kind of.
Yeah, I think Kalinskis is. I think he's in trouble.
I think he's in trouble. I think there's some concerning reps from Benson last week where he's just getting manhandled by like a 6'2", 275 D line.
So the interesting thing for him, and that's funny you're on that, because I thought at first maybe it was him moving from tackle to guard, right? But I would think that would be an easier transition. I think at center they're undersized. He doesn't have enough starts.
Yeah, like that's a real concern for me, and again, I think another element here too, I think a lot of people aren't really talking about Nebraska's special teams. They've put a lot of emphasis on that, tried to make that like a key component in their game. And Colorado mutually parted ways with their only special teams analyst like 2 weeks before the season. Like, I think that's going to be a difference.
Was that pre or post the Fight Club? Was that not the wildest story ever? I mean, you have Coach Sapp and Coach Sanders doing play-by-play blows of your special teams coach that's fighting
a GA or whatever
on campus. But full disclosure, you guys, and feel free to talk me off the ledge. That's what makes me have a little trepidation. Like, how would Nebraska not beat this team? It's a total mess from the outside, right? But they could win the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's my whole thing. Like, I think what comes back to this game, like, and again, it may not pay off this year necessarily, and I don't even know how long Deion's going to be there, if he even sticks past this year, to be honest, just because Travis and Shedeur are such, I've said this all week, such ceiling and floor raisers for that team. Like, they make so much happen for that team. Like, they individually keep that team in games and give them an opportunity in every single game they're in. Without those two, that team is really, really bad. Like, there's just not enough. There's just not enough there. And that's not even a shot. It's just like, again, like Deion and that staff were able to, obviously Shedeur is his son, but like, they've developed Shedeur into a legitimate Clearview talent, and like, give them credit there. Shedeur was a 3-star coming out, was underlooked. I remember covering Shedeur as a recruit. Like, he was looking at options, and some schools just straight up closed the door to him. Like, we're just like, we're not entertaining this. We're not doing this, which is why the Jackson State thing happened, why he went out there and proved himself, why he plays with that chip on his shoulder, because he was at one point counted out, as hard as that is to believe. But with him and Travis, it's like, these aren't guys you can just find again. You're not going to go into the transfer portal or go out and recruit the next Shedeur Sanders or Travis. That's just not going to happen.
Tim Verghese, Inside Nebraska. Great stuff as always. Tim, we appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Tim.
Sure, we'll see you tomorrow.
We've got more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Got some NFL going on now, too.
Yeah. I definitely feel like I capped that game right last night. I do. They in cover.
Yeah.
But
the way it played out.
Yeah, like I can't. So I was watching that thing last night after Holy Ghost, and thank goodness for the delay, right? So I wasn't that far behind because there were so many cheap. I bet I saw probably 15 Mahomes jerseys in that place last
Really?
night. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But that game is a great example of why you cannot just look at stats.
Yes.
Because if you look at Lamar Jackson's stats, you're like, 90 QBR and 1 touchdown, no interceptions, fairly accurate.
A lot of rushing yards. What he topped 100, right? I think for rushing yards.
The inability
to hit wide open guys in the end zone
is incredible.
Yeah, I mean Zay Flowers is naked.
I mean,
he had Likely. I always want to call him Derek Lively because the basketball player.
Yeah,
Isaiah Likely in the corner, and then even on the one that Likely didn't catch,
the go route that Watson broke up.
Yeah,
if that's Mahomes.
Yeah,
or Burrow, like that's a touchdown.
Yeah. There was a couple long ones where I can't remember. I think it was third quarter where the guy, it's like a deep post, and he's got the Kansas City defender beat, and then it's thrown behind him, so the Kansas City defender catches up and just bats it right out of the way.
So it's just things like that. It's like, you know what? I
A
don't
lot of
know.
bad balls.
I don't know if you're going to get over that hump.
Yeah. I mean, we're pretty deep into it at this point.
Like I was talking to T-Mac about it last night. It's like just to watch him not be able to complete those kinds of passes has to be maddening.
The Zay Flowers one was, I mean,
but on the other hand, I said this when they picked him up, and I poo-pooed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got the Derrick Henry signing, but what did I say? I said they were getting those rushing yards anyway.
Yep.
Like I'm not sure
how much he gets
if that's gonna be a monumental upgrade in their ground game. And I remember you were like, well, maybe you can salt clock late or have somebody to hand the ball to. And I totally
I get what you meant though.
I totally get that, but number one, you have to figure out if you're Monken, whose hands do you want the ball under?
Yeah. I mean, it's a fair question.
Right? It's like do I want 3.5, 4 yards of carry?
Or 8.
Or do I want the guy that can house it every time he's got it?
I did wonder if part of the reason they signed Henery is if they wanted to try and take
some of the burden
for Lamar Jackson, but I just don't know if that's in his DNA. Like you can stop calling certain plays in terms of QB run and whatever, but most of his rushing yards didn't come off a called QB run. But man, one of the things besides the inaccuracy that I was looking at last night is it felt like he bailed so early over and over
Chris
again.
Jones is a home wrecker.
Oh, for sure.
They had zero answer for CJ.
That's what I don't know if he was seeing ghosts or something too.
And how he continually gets better.
Yeah. He's really, really good.
He's incredible.
But I mean,
you have to chip. You got to keep guys in.
But that's kind of part of my deal with Lamar is as incredibly talented as he is, as productive as he's been, at some point you have to not take off, right? You have to sit there and make the throw, even if Chris Jones is coming for your head or what, you know what I mean? There's every time he would take off, it seemed like it was happening a little bit quicker and a little bit sooner. And he was just not willing to kind of go through it and say, because he's going to take the hit anyway when he runs, but it felt like he was unwilling to sit in the pocket. And I'm not saying you should try and hamstring him at all because of how talented he is. But at some point, if you're playing quarterback in the NFL, you got to sit in to make throws.
Yeah.
Like that's the game.
And conversely, like if you just like wake up and you look at the stats or you're one of these fantasy nerds, it's just like, 45 yards, 1 touchdown. I'm sure you get points for the touchdown or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at Pacheco, conversely, and you're like, it was just an average night. No,
he had a good night.
I felt like he had a good night.
I did too.
Like finishing runs and getting the first down.
He's got an uncanny ability for like important yards too.
100%. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right. So he makes those meaningful plays.
Yeah.
And it's like, golly, man, he just is imposing his will late in this game. They do not want to see number 10.
Mm-mm.
Right? Or
I didn't want to see number 10 in the Super Bowl last year.
Or the little check downs. So it's like the meaningful play, the meaningful yards is what I'm talking about. When you look at 26 for 41 and however many L-Jack threw for,
mm-hmm.
You didn't get the meaningful ones.
Yeah.
Even the ball he threw to Bateman didn't need to be like that.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. 100%.
So it was just like, I don't know. Like I felt like,
and like look at
I can't account for that when I'm looking at the matchups, but I like the Ravens matchups with them.
I mean, look at the stats, right? So you're talking Jackson and Mahomes. Jackson 273.
Not to be confused with Jackson Mahomes.
God no, never be confused with him. Lamar and Mahomes. 273 for Lamar, but he adds another 122 on the ground. Patrick Mahomes, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 291, QBR 66, basically. QBR.
Similar QBRs.
QBR is very similar, but you look at those and you're like, okay, I could see, like, you could kind of toss up who had a better game there. But if you're actually watching that thing, Patrick Mahomes makes every play you need him to make.
It's
every single one.
It's uncanny. It took a Herculean effort to get the deflection on third down.
Yeah.
Or Baltimore wouldn't have even had the ball back.
100%. There is.
So I'm like,
it's wild to me. Like, it's how some
what
guys
do you have, 8 incompletions.
Yeah, 20 for 28.
Yeah, he's
pretty good.
Speaking of that kind of effort,
dude, the Pacheco thing, like, I'm so impressed. I like him anyway, even though he has a little Dowdell to him where he like misses holes.
Yeah,
but he runs so hard.
Yeah, he just wants to barrel people.
And he finishes runs, which I
Yes.
like too. So if you feed him enough, he's gonna he'll wear on you. But they're important yards. They're just important
But
yards.
you look
Like,
at
they need his personality in that offense.
physicality.
Yeah.
I mean, because you look at 15 for 45, 1 touchdown, whatever. You're like, that's not great. But they needed him. What he brings to the table for that offense is a huge difference maker.
Yeah, the difference between he and Hill, like Hill had the catch out of the backfield, and he doesn't get out of bounds.
Yeah.
Right? You cut back, and Pacheco, on the other hand, when he needed to stay in bounds
and get the extra
and could have
yards,
run out of bounds, he did.
Yeah, he gets the extra yards.
He gets the extra yards, and they got to move the sticks.
And when he needs to get out of bounds,
It's just-
I don't know if it's a football IQ thing. I don't know if it's a game sense situation thing, but he's really good at that.
They're playing a winning franchise.
Yeah.
That's what. Because I mean, you look at that thing, and it's like, I know Baltimore's kicking themselves, but you know what? You can't do the routine.
It's really hard. It's really hard if your quarterback can't make some of those throws consistently.
It shouldn't have even come down to the big toe.
No.
Right?
Zay Flowers is wide open in the back of the end zone. I mean, wide ass open. There's nobody. And he missed him by like 4 yards. It wasn't close.
And I'll give Watson some credit too, because that post you're talking about, that was, first of all, he put too much air under it. It was a little behind him.
Didn't lead him, yeah.
Man, I swear to goodness, if that's a Chiefs wide receiver, Baltimore's going to get PI. They are going to have a pass interference on that.
You mean the Chiefs receiver is going to force him to go through him?
Something's going to happen where they won't play winning football and they'll get a PI. Watson just breaks that thing up, and it's like, man, I
no panic.
I can't believe you missed on that throw.
Yeah. Can't believe you gave me one.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's just the difference.
Hey, thanks for letting me back in that play.
He breaks that he breaks that play up, and it's like, I didn't even expect to see a flag. I was like, nah, he made that
speaking
play.
of penalties, are we going to see penalties like that last night all weekend?
Maybe for another week.
Yeah, the point.
I assume tonight,
maybe for another week or two.
The point of emphasis thing always lasts a couple weeks.
I couldn't believe it. I thought I was. You realize I thought that I had hit the rewind.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching.
Yeah, you're going back and forth. Yeah.
I thought I hit the rewind for the illegal formation. No, I'm dead dog serious. I mean, that is like not
that replay.
No, it's not the foundation that I want to build on. Kind of like Ep Foundation, right? Repair specialties and foundation repair, basement. They've got you covered. It's an experienced team with over 25 years experience, and they are customer focused. You need a new foundation, kind of like the Ravens ground game? Get at my folks from Ep Foundation Repair.
Those are our guys. We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Shadur's out of the shotgun. He's got Charlie to his right. Snap, looks, whips it on out there. Long throw, grab Travis Hunter, circles around, down the sideline. There he goes. The most dynamic player in college football. Touches the ball for the first time. Touchdown. Takes his snap. Shadur drops. Pressure, steps up in the pocket. Rifles this one down. Jimmy's out there. Makes the grab at the 35. Jukes him out at the 30. Down the sideline. On his way to the end zone. Hook to Horn. Jimmy has found the end zone. Touchdown. Touchdown, Colorado.
Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We are joined now by Jeff Hauser. He's the editor for BuffsBeat.com, part of Sports Illustrated. Jeff, how are you this morning?
Good morning, guys. I'm good. How are you?
Oh, listen, there's a lot of trepidation here, Jeff. My buddy he just sent me a message, and you know, he's going to the former player in me, the guy that's on the broadcast for the radio network, and he said, DB, you realize a loss will be it'll be unbearable because of we've made light of the offseason stuff, and now it's the Fight Club, and Deion's defending this, and he can't handle the media. Like Nebraska, is there this tinge of pressure? Do you feel like even on that side, do you say, you know what, you guys better not lose to this team because blank? Like, do you look at it like that?
I mean, this is definitely a must win. You know, you hate to say that in week 2, but it's the truth. I mean, given everything that happened in the offseason, given how the end of last year played out for the Colorado Buffaloes, this was definitely a must-win scenario going into this game. Now, I mean, no knock on North Dakota State. Great school. They're kind of in a rebuild mode with a new coach, but they came into Boulder. They showed everything that they could, missing a key secondary player. And, you know, Shedeur Sanders did what he does. Travis Hunter, of course, is an amazing talent, and I really worry about how he could get worn down during the course of the season. But, you know, the two of them have amazing chemistry. There's no doubt about that. But in terms of Colorado going into this game, if they don't get this one in Lincoln, and this is going to be, I mean, there's a lot of factors to this game that are going to be key for them. One being they've never played at a stadium this big. I mean, Memorial Stadium's 2 times the size of Folsom Field. And I know during the week, in week preparation, Deion Sanders and his staff have been pumping Nebraska's fight song at practice just to get them prepared for hearing that during the course of a game. But there's no amount of preparation that you can do to get them prepared for 90,000 screaming fans. That's something that this team hasn't experienced. It's something, I mean, even going back to Deion's playing days, he rarely ever experienced. So I think when you look at this game and you break it down for what it is, it's going to be a lot different matchup from last year. I expect Dylan Raiola to do some really good things, and he's going to show some inexperienced times, which, you know, he's a true freshman. We know that. So you're going up against a very experienced quarterback, inexperienced quarterback. But I think this game is going to be one in the trenches.
Jeff, did you notice the tone change about the way Colorado, specifically Deion Sanders, spoke about Nebraska last year, the whole it's personal thing, versus this year where he was much more kind of complimentary and low-key about a lot of his comments toward Coach Rule? Like, where do you think that came from?
It's personal?
No, the change from last year to this year and kind of the way he talked about Nebraska and Coach Rule as a program.
I think that it's more so Deion's filling himself out as a major coach. I mean, we go back to his days at Jackson State. That was his first coaching tenure. And this is now his second. And he kind of jumped his way through where a lot of coaches don't have that. So he's trying to fill this out as he goes. You know, he had the illustrious Hall of Fame playing career. We all know it's well documented. But for him to go from that to coaching his sons and not really having any true experience, but then to leapfrog that to Colorado, I think that he's getting a sense of, okay, this is what is required as a coach.
It's hard.
Here's and the day-to-day aspect. So I honestly think that it's just him trying to fill everything out and know that you can't have animosity during a game week. Now, I know that some of that stuff, some of the things that are said by other coaches towards him haven't been fair. And I mean, they've been brought up numerous times, but you know, the aspect of it is this is a rivalry game. And I think that he's understanding the rivalry more and more, where he knows what's at stake. He knows how the alumni base looks at it. So I think that if he walks back and really loves up his opponent, and a lot like Matt Rule did this week, you know, you want to love up your opponent and not give them any ammunition or have any added tension into the fire of this game.
Jeff, how surprised are you or not covering these guys that a guy that has grown up in the spotlight, dealing with the media on the biggest stage, that has embraced attention, right, seems to struggle with how to deal with the attention when it's on his program? Is it because you feel like he doesn't have enough control over the outcome and so we're acting out? Or is it the Tim McCarver water bucket kind of thing where it's always going to be adversarial? Like, what do you think it is that hasn't allowed him to say, you know what, I've dealt with this my whole life, I'm going to handle it better?
Well, I know that you're making reference to Denver Post columnist Sean Keeler. And to Deion's credit, I think that this is the part of the story that doesn't get reported. Sean is a columnist, and I think that
that's a good point.
When you opine,
yeah,
people think that that's a report. It's not. It's your opinion. And when you have a situation between them, I mean, I've watched press conferences go back and forth between them where, you know, Sean just got off the keys and wrote a piece about him being the Bruce Lee of BS and calling him the Music Man, you know, the reference to Disney's film where the band leader was just basically putting on this big facade. And, you know, he's gone at him time and time again. I'm not surprised that he got banned from asking questions, because some of the questions that he asks are just, they're adversarial. And Deion does not have a contentious relationship with the entire media corps in Boulder. I mean, he definitely, like we've had a great relationship with him. I can understand how some people don't, but it's to be expected. I think that it happens in places, and I'm still trying to figure out.
We've gone through it. I don't want to act like this isn't a glass house deal. I remember we've got a couple guys, two really, really good friends of mine that were columnists when in the 90s with Lee Barfnick and Tom Chattel. And I know sometimes it can come across as, well, you cover these guys, it should be like this, but we know it wasn't always rainbows and butterflies between those guys covering a big time program.
No. And you're right. It's not. The things that are going to get exposed, and those are the people in the room that hold you accountable. And that's where journalism has to matter. It has to be a matter of fact. This is what it is. It can't. I understand the opinion nature of it, but I mean, I think Keeler took it a little too far on some of his comments to grind an axe, and it just, if it was one, then it's one time, it's a one-off. But it was, I mean, us as of last year, even going into this game last year, it was like, here comes Keeler again, and it was like hit several times throughout the season. So it kind of got apparent that, okay, something's not right here. Like, he just keeps going after him time and time again. And I know that you're supposed to be thick-skinned in that role, but when you keep having attack after attack and there's nothing good being written, then, to what Deion said in that press conference, why are you here? Why do you even cover us? If you don't have anything to say that is not an attack, because we've certainly over at SI, we've certainly gone hard on the coverage sometimes, but we do it when it's warranted, and I think that's where the line was missed.
So let me ask you, if we concede that Colorado has the top two players, right, with Shedeur and Hunter, Nebraska may on paper have more good players than Colorado, especially in the trenches. If you said, can it really be as simple as what you said earlier, where it's like guys like Zelenskas and Benson and Seton against Nebraska's 9-10 man rotation? Can it really be that simple?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And no, I'm not trying to play this up as anything better. If you give Shedeur time to throw the ball and find receivers, he can be dangerous, especially Travis Hunter. Travis is elusive. He knows how to get open. He knows. He's played so long with Shedeur over the last 4 years that they know how each other click. I mean, the chemistry is off the charts. But this is going to be one in the trenches. And I'll tell you right now, you can write this down, you can put it on paper, and we can revisit this on Monday if you want. Jordan Seaton's matchup on whoever Nebraska has coming on the other side of the line at that left tackle position, that is going to be the key for this game. You're talking about a freshman with 2 starts. Yes, he is a 5-star. He was the highest rated offensive lineman coming into this past recruiting class nationally, but it's going to come down to how well he holds up. And I mean, Tyler Brown on the other tackle side, on the right side, I mean, if you have those two bookends really hold down and give Shedeur time, the middle will somewhat take care of itself with Benson Mayers. But I'm telling you right now, if Jordan Seaton gets exposed early during this game, it will be a long night for Colorado.
That's Jeff Hauser from buffsbeat.com, part of Sports Illustrated. Jeff, we appreciate the time, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Appreciate you, Jeff.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow.
Guys.
Yep.
That's Jeff Hauser from buffsbeat.com.
Interesting.
I do think it's all going to come down to the trenches. I don't think that's a hot take.
Wow. Got to be something else, doesn't it?
Does it?
Maybe not.
I don't know. You ask some football coaches. I think that's about all that matters, huh? We'll be back with Mike Sautter coming up next year on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. It's Colorado Week.
And the ball coming down to Rogers at the 37. He reverses his field. Now he goes back up the other way. He's to the 40, 45, 50, 40. He's to the 35, to 30, 25, and down he goes. Brother.
We know what the N for on our helmet stands for. We understand that completely.
For the Cornhuskers. It doesn't pay off. Will Shields has got the football.
Yo, Tumblerooski on that play.
At the Buffalo 47-yard line. Calvin Jones, he's gonna go.
Nebraska, Colorado.
Offense deep over the middle, ball tipped down, and there's going to be intercepted by Jones.
Back to throw his games. Colorado sends a blitz. Joe throws it down the field. That's Mike McNeil, the tight end. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Nebraska. Mike McNeil from Joe Gans from 53 yards out.
Huskers, Buffaloes, this Saturday.
Let's see, they're going to put it down, at the 47-yard line. So if he were to hit it, it'll go in the books as the longest in school history. This is an attempt of 57 yards. Does he have enough? Is it long enough?
Second 10. Pocket to the gun. Gets a snap. Set. Throws. Batted down. Finish up to 2. 2 to the 20. 15. Pocket. traps him, knocks him, touchdown Sioux.
Thinks he's a running back. No, I keep telling him he thinks he's Walter Payton. But be good for the big fella. He's played his butt off all year, and great win for our program.
Nebraska, Colorado.
Well, my dad said that he never lost to them. So
Snap back to Raiola. Step throws toward the end zone for Banks. Goes up, makes a catch, and it is a touchdown, Nebraska. Jamal Banks outleaps a couple of defenders and pulls it in there for 6 points.
Huskers, Buffaloes in prime time.
Looking for Nayor, makes a catch inside the 15 to the 10 to the 5. Touchdown, Nebraska.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. Mike Sautter joining us now from Hurrdat Sports and NEB Preps. Mike, what's going on, man?
Man,
how you feel?
Getting a little fired up there. Fired up for tomorrow. You're excited, Damon. You were yelling at the TV about.
I wanted him to throw me the ball. What was so hard about that? You're scrambling. I'm right in front of you.
Dump off.
Full disclosure, I should have blocked that guy.
Why didn't you?
It's your fault.
Well, I set up a little early, and it's supposed to be a fake, and then I just kind of peel out.
Can you do that juke move again?
Oh, did I do that to the TV?
Yeah,
I probably did. I'm a miserable. I don't know, man. I'm pretty miserable to watch games with.
How was Alex Henery? I missed it.
Alex was good, man.
He's good.
So can I tell you just a quick story? One of my fondest memories of my late father-in-law. Him and I went to that game, just us two.
Colorado
game where we made that kick, and we were in the north end zone, and he kicked it to the north end zone.
Did you think it was going to hit the mountains?
We were,
because that's the TV angle.
No, yeah, we were there, and I remember after he made that kick, we were like 15 rows down from where our seats were because everyone just went ballistic.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
I
mean, it just people were just.
I seriously thought he was going to hit the mountains.
Yeah, it was
because it's wide open back there.
Yeah, it was that's one of that, and asking him if I could marry his daughter are the fondest memories I have of my now not around father-in-law.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I remember watching Alex Henery warm up in pregame when we were playing them, and I was like, he's kicking that from the 50-yard line. Is he practicing kickoffs?
Yeah, just in case there's a penalty, he's practicing.
I was like, oh, wait, no, he's warming up.
Oh, that's a field goal.
He'd started at the 40 and then just back it up and then back it up. And it was funny because this morning he goes, yeah, I mean, I played soccer. I just kicked for fun.
Yeah.
Just accidentally ended up in the NFL.
That's some Hurrdat type stuff right there. That's I'm telling. That's what Darren would say.
I'm gonna be the number 1 pick in the MLB draft, but I'm just kicking around for fun, winning a national title.
I think football was like his 5th best sport. He was great in hockey.
Sure.
He could shoot.
Yeah.
He was obviously good in baseball. It's
yeah, not bad.
I think, I'll just kick. That dude would just practice punting and just hit pylons for laughs and giggles.
Just because he could.
I think I'm going to kick this down to, I'm going to hit this at about the 6. Or he would spin it back. He would work on draws and stuff. I'm like
he's golfing.
Like a golfer. Yeah.
Who in the world can do this with a ball? Because at that age, I didn't pay attention to kicking. But for a while, we kind of struggled. We had 2 guys that kicked off. One time it was Sealer. One time it was Bennett. It wasn't always smooth sailing. Yeah. But then we went through that stretch where it was we took it for granted.
Yeah.
It's not a thing I take for granted.
No, we don't take kicking for granted anymore.
Tomorrow come down to a field goal?
No, absolutely not. I mean, we'll save it for the next segment for Bet On It with Warhorse, but I've got some takes on the Colorado-Nebraska game.
I'm surprised Jeff Hauser, and he's really good. I like him because he's authentic, right? He's honest. I'm surprised. I get the whole Seton thing. Right, young guy, and he's going to see Jamari Butler and Prince William and James Williams, which none of that's fun. and those guys will all be fresh. But I'm telling you, I don't like them at center and guard.
So that's because we were just talking to Tim, and then we talked to Jeff right after that, and Tim was way out on the interior.
Kalinskas has got to be he's going to have his hands full with those 2
monsters
menaces inside.
more than. I mean, it'd be nice to see Ty Robinson kind of get.
So what I hope is
Yeah.
is that they push from the middle and pinch from the edges.
Yeah.
Keep him in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of box him in.
Make him step up, because
Instead of
I've
that
seen that
backpedaling.
guy
Stepping
in
back
my
and,
sleep
Mhm.
just backpedal and make some spectacular play. And I'm like, that's not how you draw it up. Can we just get back to like real stuff?
Yeah.
Nope. That's Shador, and he's really, really good.
Yeah,
He's
good.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And he is a great player.
There's not a lot of guys that can get away with
How
playing
about he
the
can
position.
throw it off his back foot too?
Yeah, that can get away with playing the position the way he does.
That's why I'm not optimistic about takeaways. He doesn't turn the ball over.
No. I'm just hoping that the Jets season doesn't fall apart and we end up with a top 5 pick and then we like have to draft him, because I'm not.
You'd have a hard time rooting for
No, believe me, if Dallas tanks, man, they'll be all over.
Oh yeah.
Although I did expect Dak's deal to be announced yesterday.
Yeah, I thought it'd be done. I thought it'd be done by now.
They're Mike. They played Sunday.
Yeah, it should be. Whatever.
I mean, are they really going into the season without a deal?
He might be. You think he's thinking about Shador?
Maybe he's waiting for Arkansas to beat Oklahoma State and then bury the lead.
Do it. Yeah, maybe.
He's like, how about my alma mater?
Maybe he placed a bet on Arkansas, and that's going to cover the contract. He's like Mattress Mac or whatever in Houston. He's like, hey, we're going to put like 10 mil on this and try and cover on the money line.
Brock Purdy's going to get paid. Too,
what would you have to bet to
alive
win 57 mil?
Depends on what the line is. What's the money line on?
What's 50? wait. What's 57 times 4? Is that 228?
Yeah.
So you'd have to bet
Good math.
228 million.
Wouldn't have to bet if there's plus money on it. Like if
yeah, if you took
Arkansas
on
is
the
like
money
plus
line,
400 on the money line or something.
Okay, so you'd have to bet
50 million. Is anybody taking
They're
that
underdog? I mean, so you get plus money.
Is anybody taking that action?
No.
What's 7.5 on the money line? Like plus 220 or something?
It's probably
maybe?
not crazy. I'm checking right now. Don't worry about it. It's probably in the high ones, low twos.
So you're only going to get, like, you got to pay Dak 57, 58 mil, right?
Yeah.
And I bet he would only get a 4-year deal. Isn't that what everybody does?
Yeah.
That's the LeBron James impact that trickled into other sports. The shorter contracts with the guaranteed Skrilla, right? Like nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody's trying to have that fake money
I
at
want
the
that
end
guaranteed
anymore.
money. Yeah.
That Shohei Ohtani money he probably will
pretend money.
We'll never see.
Never. He's doing it.
Well, he might see more of it now that he got a different accountant.
Well, it's only like 10 mil on the books.
Yeah. Plus 240.
Plus 240?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing that, man. I need Jamie.
So he'd have to do 100. He'd have to bet 100.
Yeah, 2 to 1. Yeah, there you go.
Basically. Yeah.
2.1 to 1.
Yeah.
118.
To get to 228, he'd have to bet just under 100.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of money. Nobody's taking that action.
Well, he probably has that in one
under
of
his mattress.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, it's a $5 billion franchise.
Yeah. That's not all like liquid though, you know?
Yeah, it ain't like he's.
I don't think he's like house poor or anything, but
he ain't oh boy who sings that song Gorilla. He ain't Bruno Mars, right? I think the casinos know he's good for it.
I think unlike Mark Davis, he's not really cash poor. Like he's got it.
Ooh, Shane, he talked about your bowl haircut, dude.
Dude, that's real though. He didn't have any cash. That man's got some cash flow problems.
Once he sells a little bit off to Brady, he'll be fine.
That's why he's trying to sell something.
That's what I mean. He's got no cash.
Well, I'm sure he can go to dinner just fine.
Well, he apparently can't afford a haircut.
Maybe he likes it. Like
hey,
that.
Man, just rip it off like I do. Just take it down.
Just shave that thing?
Just take it down.
Yeah. How was the game last night?
It was okay.
Not super competitive.
Not competitive whatsoever from the jump.
Tim was gushing. Did you keep it in perspective? He literally said, "How's anybody going to stop them?" I said, "Well, Sautter told me that once too."
Yeah,
Sautter. I didn't say anything. Sautter said it would take an act of bad weather. Remember that?
Didn't. I said there's.
It's got to be. He did. He said it's a bad weather game.
It'd take a weather game or someone getting them to deep water.
Yeah.
You got to get to deep water first.
Salt clock. Snap that thing.
ain't wet.
Snap that.
You got to
thing
be able to run
Shorten the
ball
game. Shorten the game.
Got to be able to run the ball against them. And
so how do you explain what happened last week when Ravi was gushing over Millard North and that game went down to the wire?
I was surprised. It was an expectation thing.
No. It was Team Gush.
I think it was a little newness of Millard
Sure,
North.
that was part of it.
It's just kind of like, no, they're actually throwing it multiple downs.
He's just pulling your strings. Hey, Sautter, let me off the hook. Never thought you'd be deferring to Jerome to let you off the hook.
Let me tell you something. I am setting him up for something here. So
Yeah, he's going to come after him for the Jets here in a second.
Just wait.
Why?
Remember yesterday? Let's just get right into it. Then we can come back because the Jets are
we can come back to
Let's get
my
right
Mustangs.
into it.
He changed his posture and everything.
Let's just go.
He's laid back, but he'll sit up.
So Ravi Lulla said yesterday, I hate the Jets. That is on this radio show.
Oh, yeah, he did. That was in passing.
Yeah. Not like I hate Dion, but I hate the Jets too.
On this radio show, I hate the Jets.
Yeah.
And that you were.
Well, that's a great question, Ravi Lulla. Very offended. It is not a great question, Shane.
It wasn't a question at all. It was a statement. It was definitive.
Why do you hate the Jets?
I don't like Aaron Rodgers. Not an Aaron Rodgers guy.
I'm not an Aaron Rodgers guy.
I don't have a lot of
the field.
I don't have a lot of.
It's like torn between two lovers, feeling like a fool. I like Aaron Rodgers, but
With arms wide open.
But he drives me up.
Yeah,
the
he's a
wall.
knucklehead.
I like him though.
I like his talent.
I like him.
I've said my NFL stance before. Like, you don't have to be a great human if you play for my team.
And just because he doesn't think what I think doesn't mean he's killing babies.
No,
like,
yeah,
it doesn't mean a bad human.
No, I just don't like
he
him.
Just doesn't like vaccines.
Some
and he's
weird stuff.
I just don't like
psilocybin. Good on him.
Not even that. I just don't like the way he operates. Like I just don't like it.
You won't like it on Monday.
I wish the Jets
when he's on the sideline after he
throwing
gets
some
injured in the first quarter.
I wish the Jets, besides having Aaron at quarterback, had Bo Jackson at running back, had Deion Sanders as coach. I mean, how
Bo Jackson would play?
They kind of have Bo Jackson.
How
I mean,
much
they
hatred would Ravi have towards that team?
I mean, Breece Hall is
probably none because Bo Jackson would play for the Jets about as much as Aaron Rodgers did last year, based on his career history.
Breece Hall is kind of both. I mean,
Do you realize my sister took Breece Hall with the first pick in her fantasy draft?
She should.
She asked me the 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was really only like 60 seconds response time. So I responded. She took the guy that I listed third as first.
What did you get? McCaffrey, Breece Hall,
and Hill.
Yeah. Okay.
Breece is gonna. If that offensive line is healthy, the Jets are gonna be just fine.
Wow, are you excited? Guess
I'm
what?
Excited.
Guess what? For all your Aaron Rodgers and you got a Purdy throw talk, my quarterback's got a hurt calf again.
Imagine that.
It might be the Justin Fields show after all.
It's not gonna be the Justin Fields.
You love
show.
Justin
You guys are in
Fields.
trouble. Jets play them too this year, by the way.
Who's you guys? I don't play for them.
That's your team.
It is, but I'm not the we.
No, you talk about them.
I don't say we.
I say we about one team.
Who?
The New
Jets.
York Jets.
Do you have any gear on under there?
No.
So where are you heading tonight?
I'm going to York at Elkhorn North. Game will be about an hour. Run the ball, defense, punt, run the ball. Yeah.
Are they doing long half times everywhere this year?
No.
Okay, because the one at Miller North last week was about like 20, 25 minutes. I was like, what's happening?
Okay.
Were they reading all the perfect SAT scores from last year's graduation?
Probably. No.
Because that would have taken about 27 minutes.
It's true. Smart people go to Miller North. We know this.
No, they do.
Smartest people.
Believe me, I know. I sat through my graduation 2 years ago.
Smartest people.
It took forever, and it was all reading like perfect scores.
This is the
Michael
one.
Bruntz, you know.
The one thing that I can't stand about high school football halftimes.
Wash your mouth.
If you put 20 minutes on the clock, it should be 20 minutes, not 23 or 26 or 25.
So you want the 3 minutes of warm-up time to come from the 17?
I think that is the worst rule ever.
Is it really 20 minutes? That seems long.
15 or 20.
It was 20. It was the 20
I
was
don't
on
think
the.
it's 20.
It was last
Most
week
of
at
the
Miller
time
North.
it's 20. Class A is 20 because here's why. Because the bands used to just go out there and play some music. Now they got to use it as a practice.
Just play some music.
Now they
Hit me with a little ditty.
No,
So you guys
now they use it as a practice for their show, and they bring out all their stuff and trusses and all this stuff on the field, and then they got to get it off the field, and like it just sometimes setting that stuff up takes forever. So especially Bellevue West.
For a guy that's trying to low key murder you during this segment, you sure are very agreeable.
Because he's just mad about the Jets. That's
I mean,
not
you're
a
just
real
kind of
thing.
nodding and play like when's Ravi and Jerome on the same team?
I'm mad about the halftime
Hey, if
thing.
I
It
show
took
up there-
forever.
It does. It takes.
Because they put 20 on the clock, and then
it
it was
should
like
be 20. It shouldn't be 23.
it got to
As a
0,
coach-
and then they started thinking about playing again.
As a coach, you guys know you have someone telling you the clock.
We
right?
do. 4
Okay,
minutes.
Then get your out there at 17, not 20. Then you get the extra 3 minutes. The extra 3-minute rule is the dumbest rule in high school football. In my opinion, that's the NFHS rule.
I'm gonna get back to high school in a second. How good is that guy right there?
Chris Jones, yeah, he's really
pretty
He's
good. I
making
saw him practice.
He's making a Hall of Fame case. You guys understand that, right?
Yeah.
Because he's won Super Bowls.
He's
But that's
incredible.
also why.
I mean, the Super Bowls will. I know this is a word that not everybody knows, but it will bolster his resume.
What does bolster mean? Like, what-
Improve?
bolster?
You mean improve? It'll beef up his resume
does
a little
bolster
bit.
mean?
But I do agree. Like he's getting in that
I'm gonna
neighborhood.
shake Deion's hand tomorrow, and
Yeah.
you know what I'm gonna say? I got a radio partner that hates you. He's like, bring his ass over here. No, he doesn't cuss. but ass isn't a bad word.
Bring his darn self over here.
Dern. I want to get him to see if I can get him to say Dern. Did you see their trucks outside?
You can bring him on over.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Oh, they're standing over there.
Yeah.
Stomp a couple of those other toes off.
So I got a question,
I
Jerome.
come through the backside.
Do you?
Yeah, to get here. Go around.
I have a question. So young Jacob Padilla asked me about games, and he gave me 4. Okay. Because you guys already have Elk South and Bellevue West covered. I said Wahoo and Ashland Greenwood.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, 100%.
He gave me a little pushback. Should I push back?
He doesn't. He must not think Ashland's going to hang with them a little bit.
Is that's kind of the? I mean, Wahoo is
Their defense is crazy. They're two defenses. Bennington's defense is obviously very legit, and I think Wahoo's is very good too. I would love to see those two play in just a 1-game scenario. That'd be awesome.
Bennington and Wahoo.
That'd be fun.
6-0.
Something like that.
3-2.
6-3. Cale Bird and Lubin.
Yeah, I mean,
it's gonna be SDSU.
So that would be a throwback, wouldn't it?
It's gonna be SDSU and Iowa up in there
tonight. Bennington plays Gretna East. I mean, they could shut them out.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They shut out Waverly last week, so
that's gonna be a really tough test for
a young
East
team.
up front.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, because they don't have any seniors.
Right. Yeah.
Let's talk about important stuff. Miller North Cherry Creek. What's happening there?
I'm not sure Cherry Creek's
lost
as good.
so much.
Yeah, I don't think they're as good as they have been.
Right.
I think just the name is a big name. I don't think they're as. I think
not as scary as they.
No, not as scary as it.
Hey, how many times did I try to warn people about DeSmet? He looked at me
no,
like,
they're good.
It's cool, 300 people. I'm like, okay. You guys are pretty good, man.
No,
you guys going to K, like, they're legit.
Yeah.
They're number 2 in Missouri for a reason. Like, I mean, they're really good.
Although he did, I don't know, man. I got to talk to old Coach Young because he's, you never play a team like that again. I'm like, well, we just hung 60 on you. Like, I don't mean it like that, but I'm saying it's all
but
relative.
You mean it like that.
Speaking of 60, North South could have put up about 75 last night.
I'm surprised he didn't.
Man, they calmed it down. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a big rivalry. I mean, it's a major rivalry.
Zero love loss.
I'm aware. I grew up in Millard. I know.
It's just like
none of the schools like each other.
It's not. Yeah.
And Millard North and Millard West hate Millard South the most.
And I think Millard South was the least like from the jump.
Yes, Millard North and Millard West hate Millard South the most between the two.
Yeah.
Between
I will say this: there were administrators there last night that were like, "Quit calling penalties, keep this clock running, keep the clock running, keep the clock running."
Yeah,
just to get out of there, right? Like,
well, yeah, because they started doing running clock. What, third quarter?
It started the third. Yeah, 9 minutes in the third or whatever.
Yeah, that's
35.
Yeah, 35.
Because it's 28:00 at half, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I didn't know the exact time where they
maybe
started running it.
Hey, so
that's by the way, that's Millard West's worst loss since they opened. Since their first year.
Was that 97?
96, 96, I think.
Didn't they win a title in like the first 2 years of that school being open? 99? Are you sure?
Yeah, they didn't get there.
Coach McLaughlin's the one that won.
Early 2000s, I think. I don't think it was
Coach
so early
McLaughlin
2000s.
is the coach that won the
I know.
state title.
He pulled me. I mean, Central schedule will be a little advantageous here outside of North. They recovered from last week or a little hangover.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that was kind of a giveaway.
Kids are kind of.
Well, I gotta get. I mean,
it was 21.
Bellevue. We're kind of
the
missing,
resolve of Bellevue.
Yeah,
West
we're kind of missing
come
that.
Back in
Bellevue
that game.
West kept their composure.
Yeah,
that's and they haven't always done that.
Yeah, no,
right.
I know.
Like sometimes the emotions get the best of them. Like they chilled.
Crumble. Yeah, they were very. Talked to Coach Huffman. He said, we were just very positive. Like we were very positive, just really positive with them.
God, the score before the half that changed the whole feel of that game.
Hey, Will Anderson's pretty good.
You got it. I mean, I got no problems with that.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great game.
At some point, he's got to be able to play catch, though.
Yeah, like him running the ball is
you got to be able to play catch.
Is a super. I mean,
found that out last night with Lamar.
So bad.
They'll be. I mean, yeah. Bell West tonight that's going to be I'll be interested to see their defensive game plan because it looked like last week they were just trying to keep everything in front. And so I'll be interested to see.
What do you think?
Because Elkhorn South can't really hit you over the top.
What do you think Sutko's recruiting ceiling is?
He's so good. Well, he's about 6'2", 210, whatever.
His recruiting ceiling.
I think he can get to like a Nebraska or something.
P4?
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
Millard West 2001 was their first state title. They did lose in 98-99 though, so they were in the championship game.
Okay.
So you're right. You're pretty close.
Getting there.
He knows some stuff about high school football. We'll be back with more.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on KFOR in Lincoln as well. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. It's time for Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook, the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets. They've got you covered for nearly every major sporting event and nearly every type of bet you can imagine. Go to warhorsecasino.com for more information, including some events they've got coming up as well. DB?
What do you want?
I think it's time to make some picks.
Maybe.
Maybe?
I smell a bet.
Are you going to?
I smell a bet.
Yeah.
Like to publicly acknowledge that I had that game capped correctly yesterday.
You did. That was the flow of the game was basically exactly how you anticipated it to be. Unfortunately,
just don't know how you're that old and can't play catch.
Vegas goes by the final score.
He said Vegas.
Unfortunately,
Chichi Villegas. Can you imagine how many hearts were experiencing palpitations when they thought Lively caught the ball?
Did you see the video of who is that?
Likely
Dave Portnoy?
No.
So the old Barstool guy.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Dave Portnoy.
He apparently had a lot riding on Ravens +3.
Yeah.
And so
was it a couple of pizza takes or?
Maybe. I'm not sure. May have.
He can afford it.
He could. Yes, he can. He's kind of got Mattress Mac money over there with the with the bets. But yeah, I think it was like a $700,000 bet or something. Like it was a chunk of change.
It's ludicrous.
Which is like Chris Bridges or no. But they had a camera on him while he's watching this thing, so obviously he freaks out when Likely gets the catch, and then there's somebody who has the stones to be like, I think he was out, and then everybody's just staring. Oh man, like I would not have enjoyed. I probably would have had a heart attack in that moment. That's a bad roller coaster to be on.
Yeah, especially when you watched him miss
Flowers,
Zay Flowers,
and Likely the 2 plays before, and then however many other ones he missed over the course of the game. Like that's a tough pill to swallow.
Really, Lamar?
I wish.
How many people do you think were like, give the ball to Derrick Henry?
Pounding it. Touched it. Hopefully no one, because they were out of timeouts. That would have been a bad idea.
I'm not talking about in crunch time.
Oh, just in general.
Yeah.
Well, I would have liked to see the video.
What did Five Fingers say to the face?
Hey, friend.
Hello, friend.
Wow. I feel like
you see how
sometimes
disarming I can be.
I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say this, but you have to get past what I really mean.
I did like that.
Sometimes I would love to be Sautter and just be a cussing machine. But I don't really want to be Jerome. I just like that.
You just want to have the last.
How about that tirade on the way out the door?
No, listen, he's feels some kind of way.
He told you to F off.
Yeah, that's one of those things where that's
Thank you, dear baby Jesus.
not really about me. That's him projecting from his very sad place as a Jets fan. And so I'm trying to show a little empathy. You know, I've been to counseling. I've been to therapy.
This dude said, I'm going to show up on Tuesday. You're like, that's okay. You don't have a key.
I bet you he's listening right now, just cursing his
He
brain
probably
out.
is. He's probably going to call, and we're not going to answer it.
No, he may have set a record, except for the time in Indianapolis in the car of cuss words and of short.
That was academic purposes. I was just trying to help educate you on all the different uses.
Is that what
Yeah, I even missed some. I thought about it later. I was like, man, I missed some obvious ones too, but still had a pretty good run there.
Oh, Jerome.
I was just trying to help you out. You know, you seem like you were looking for some more adjectives to add into your vocabulary, and I was trying to help you out.
Oh man.
Hey, I know you didn't get like a whole week of Steelers quarterback talk because Russ Wilson won the job. But guess what, baby? It's back.
Yeah. Hey, Russ, how's your calf?
It's a little tight. Might have to stretch it out on the airplane.
Yeah, your calf okay, bud?
Doing some lunges up and down the aisle in the airplane.
Yeah, he ain't getting benched though.
He'd be real hard to root for.
Russ?
Yeah.
No, it's a Steelers thing you wouldn't understand.
I would not understand the Steelers. I'm just saying.
I mean, I've rooted for a Duck. I've rooted for a Malone. I've rooted for a Woodley. I've rooted for
Duck Hodges?
Yeah.
I was thinking like Dennis Dixon, like an Oregon Duck.
I've had to root for him too.
I liked him at Oregon.
So
David Woodley, is that who you're rooting for?
Lamar.
Yes.
Lamar?
No.
Taylor?
For you, it'd be Latrell.
Spreewell?
No.
Oh.
Got any new javelins?
Talk about five fingers with a little necklace he gave his guy PJ Carlissimo. St. John's great, PJ.
Yeah. No, to heck with Andrew Gaze and Seton Hall, right? You remember Andrew Gaze?
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. That's not my wheelhouse.
I think New Zealand or Australian sharpshooter. One or two.
We like a foreign sharpshooter. Those we like the shooters on our team.
Who's we?
Just people in general who like basketball. Big Peja guy. You know,
Stojakovic?
Yeah.
Or Stojakoswish, as the kids used to call him.
Fedor Zugic for Creighton now. Got a new guy.
Fedor.
We like Fedor.
Yeah, the only Fedor I appreciate is in Milenko.
Oh, I thought you were going to say in your barber, the fader, you know? No? Is that a different thing?
Dude, you're like Shane, are you old enough to remember the Gong Show?
I'm aware of it.
You need Ravi. Marty Robbie needs Marty. He's the
Gong.
Kirk, yeah.
I've seen clips. I didn't watch it like live, but I've seen
that
clips.
dude.
Nah, I'm all right. I'm doing just
what, Marty Cordero?
Doing just fine. Hey, we
oh
like
my
Marty.
gosh. Like this is just like bad. Like both you two knock it off.
Will Cordero?
You seem very hurt right
So Nebraska's a 7-point favorite against Colorado. Total is 56.5.
Yeah.
How you feeling? Earlier in the week, you were very high on Nebraska laying the points.
Yeah, I'd lay it.
And it was 7.5 at that point.
I'd lay it.
You got a half point back.
I think a team's more apt to cover 7 in the hook than 6 in the hook. So lay it.
I agree. I know that doesn't make for as interesting radio. I think Nebraska. I'm going to give you a number. I'm going to give you a score too.
Oh, what? Would you like to give me a score?
I'm going to give you a score. I think Nebraska kind of beats the hell out of them a little bit.
Whoa. Can you say that on radio?
Hell yes.
Okay.
Or hell no. You can say hell in general. So it's a place. It's not.
By the way, there's a
really
new
swear
Hellboy
word.
movie coming out. Shane, have you seen the trailer?
Yeah, it looks solid.
Is it Ron Perlman?
No, they changed it. Yeah, they made him look different. It's kind of weird.
It's old school.
Were you a big Ron Perlman Hellboy guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
I like the characters.
Yeah.
They're kind of cool.
It's
They're
not a
kind
bad
of cool.
movie.
They're kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like the whole mythological.
I do like the mythology of some of the stuff. I feel like you don't get enough of that in some of the movies.
Yeah.
Like, give me some backstory. How did we get here? Like, where did the Infinity Stones come from? Give me a little more of that. Why is Thanos so mad all the time? You know? I know.
Are you listening at this guy?
I know his planet got messed up, but like, again, maybe get a little therapy. Maybe you don't have to try and kill half the people in the universe.
I suppose this is all my fault for going off track.
100%. It's always Shane's fault.
Hey, you can't blame Shane. He's the glue.
I'm going to give a number here. I'm taking Nebraska minus the 7.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking the over.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a 38-20 ball game.
Taking the over, huh?
Nebraska.
38-20?
38-20. We were both pretty close on score last week. I had 42-6.
I said 38-10.
You said 38-10. We were both very close on score. Had a pretty good feel for that one. 38-20. That's my score.
Yeah, I'm going with 31-20.
I got an extra touchdown on the action. That's all right. So you're taking the under, but the cover.
Correct.
I think Nebraska. I mean, like Tim said earlier.
Tim Seaton?
No.
Tim Verghese?
Tim Verghese, our guy from inside Nebraska.
Yeah.
I don't.
Oh, by the way, I don't think he said the whole Jack linebacker.
I don't remember that at all.
I'm going to have to go back and check that out.
Yeah, we're going to have to go back and get that one because I think Sautter might be the one making stuff up.
You don't have to roll him. Jeez. Note to self. Don't do anything with Ravi you don't want anybody else to know about.
Well, you know how the old adage, like, hey, don't get into a fight with people that buy ink by the barrel. That's like telling a guy that has a radio show to F off on your way out the door. I got a lot more bandwidth than he does. It's all right, you know.
He did give you a couple parting shots.
That's all right. So he gets a couple back.
Oh, man.
No, I think Tim was right. I think I know Shador's really good. I know Travis Hunter's really good. Outside of that, I think this is a pretty bad football team in Colorado.
So my man Lance, he asked me. He was pretty, not Michigan Lance.
Mm-hmm.
My other Lance, not like he's
like a lot.
We're gonna do this thing again. We're gonna keep this thing rolling.
What'd Lance say? King Arthur, Knights of the Round Table? No.
You're an idiot.
What'd Lance say?
He said, how do you sense having the two best players on the field Saturday belonging to Colorado, but then be so confident that we'll win?
Ultimate team game.
And I simply said, we have more good players. And guess what? I got a heart emoji.
What do you always tell me? What does Vrzal always tell us is coming up next?
It's a team game.
Ultimate team game.
Yeah.
2 out of 11, 2 out of 22. Not a very good ratio of good football players.
Not good.
Not good, folks. 38-20 for me, 31-20 for DB. We both have the cover. He's got the under. I've got the over. That's Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook. We will be back with Matt Vrzal to wrap up the show. Coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Now let's find out what Matt Vrzal is better at, telling stories or making pizza.
Matt.
Matt's an exceptional young man.
Matt Vrzal.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You know, Matt, he's a tremendous athlete.
Matt Vrzal.
Come on, Matt, I'm with you.
You know, like Matt Vrzal, you're one of the sexiest people in the world, but you're not one of the most beautiful. How does that happen?
Here is Matt Vrzal.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
Wrapping up the show on a Friday here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. Matt Vrzal, former Husker and owner of Paisan's Pizza, joins us now. Verz, what's going on, bud?
Not much, boys. How are you doing today?
Are you a little under the weather, Matty? You're sounding a little stuffy.
I have probably a half of a bag of flour in my nose, Damon, because I've been throwing pizza since 3:30 this morning.
Yeah, sorry, buddy. Don't go all Sautter on me and telling me how tough it is out here. Although you did miss a little kid fight between he and Ravi off air. It was pretty good.
No sympathy. I know what I'm in for, but it just flour does what flour wants to.
You missed it was very Verghese-esque. It was about 74 expletives and about 60 seconds worth of banter.
What was the argument? I'll tell you who's right.
It's kind of a Jets versus Niners thing. And Ravi.
Mostly just a me not liking the Jets thing.
Yeah, of course, Sautter took offense to it. And
much like Michael Jordan, took that personally.
They got into it. You just sat there and watched.
Of course. It's what I do.
You were the voyeur. Okay, got it.
It's not a bad place to be sometimes, Matt. It keeps you clean, right?
Hey, you do you, buddy. I don't get down like that. But.
So hey, good morning, man. What time is it?
I'm here to judge.
Hey, so I missed a lot of the details for the reunion, and I know you're going to be taking care of some business. But what time are we hearing that the festivities start for us knuckleheads?
On Friday or Saturday.
Well, let's just give a rundown, Matty.
There's a banquet tonight. I got no idea what time it starts. And then there's a tailgate tomorrow. I got no idea what time that starts.
Where's the banquet?
I got no idea.
Yeah, we're clueless.
Once this other plan came into play, then I was like, well, check that one off the list. I'm pretty good. Like once something in my life needs to be deleted, it just exits the brain, and any information about it is gone.
Yeah. I feel like I should know more than I do, and I'm sure it's in some emails, but yeah, I'm pretty close because I'm in Columbus, right? Like, what am I doing?
Columbus ain't that far of a drive. You probably should drive. You could meet the fellas out at night, which would probably be the most fun.
Yeah, can you imagine me turning around and going back to Lincoln tomorrow and actually work? That'd be fantastic.
Change of clothes. Nancy's got a shower. You just go in there. She got an extra bed. You go to Nancy's. You shower. You'd be good to go.
Oh,
hey, buddy, by the way, your fits have been good. I texted you that the other night on Big Red Wrap Up. You didn't even respond, kind of like a D-bag would.
It's Dean Blandino to you, Matty. Dean Blandino.
But your fits have come a long way. Like you used to have suits that were like 4 sizes too big, and now you're like that was a good jacket.
Wow, this dude.
I was proud of you.
Thank you.
My style's rubbing off on him, Verse.
I'm growing up right before your very eyes.
Calm down there, Vesty Vesterson.
I like a good vest.
Yeah, we trust me. We know you know a lot of it.
Vesty Vesterson.
I mean, compared to what Sautter was calling me, that's not bad.
Looks like you're dealing blackjack in an old Western movie.
That's about all I probably would have been allowed to do in an old Western movie, Verse.
Oh.
Now, don't be that way. We're coming to find a lot of stuff wasn't that true.
I think you killed DB. He can't breathe.
He's so stupid. Vesty Vesterson and an old blackjack dealer in the West. Like, you're on a roll here, Matty. You sound like a guy that's been up since 2.
Think about it. How many of those blackjack dealers wearing vests? All of them. If you had like that little armband thing too, and a little visor, you should do that when you have the show.
You know where I can get some of those visors? I don't have a connect on that.
Oh, I'll get one. Don't worry.
Listen, I'll do it. I'll dress up like the blackjack dealer just for you, Verse. I got you.
Oh,
you're dealing. I'll probably come out and play.
Matt, I got a question because I'm having a hard time getting my mind around this, and I know I shouldn't. But there's no way this game can be as easy with Shedeur and Hunter out there as just whoever wins in the trenches. Because if that's the case, I don't see how Colorado wins, but Colorado could win. So do I need to just expand my mind or what are we talking about here?
Okay, so this is going to get this game, and Rule had mentioned he wants a 1 point or a close game, right? Because I think he needs that as a measuring stick that his team can get over the hump, the mental hump of it, right? So for Nebraska to do this, that rush that we want to put on Shedeur, if you take your 2 thumbs, you put your 2 thumbs together and you extend your 2 pointer fingers, okay? Now just move your thumbs over the top of each other and those 2 pointer fingers come to each other. That's the way the pass rush has to look, okay?
I get a triangle. Is that about right?
Sure. He will intentionally vacate the pocket because he knows in chaos there's very, very few secondaries that can cover his guys for that long, okay? But if that pocket just kind of collapses on him, now don't get it twisted. He can still throw from the pocket. I'm not saying he can't, but he likes chaos when he needs to get to it. For the secondary guys, sometimes 15 is better than 6. Okay? So if it does break down and you are beat and you don't want to give up a touchdown, trip them, tackle them, take the penalty, and live to fight another day. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? From the offensive side of it, the Oreo in the middle of Nebraska's offensive line has to be double stuff. I mean, they have to. Mazuka, Scott, and Evans Jenkins got to control it.
Hey, that's a nasty group, man. I'm gonna call them the Oreo double stuff. Think they'd be pissed because they definitely try to fight me.
Hey, well, why would you? It's an awesome nickname, and why would you be that sensitive?
I don't know. I'll ask them that too. That'll go over well.
I don't know how Mazuka's going to react to that one.
He's like, hey, this old, I bet he's like, that's pretty dope. This old, here, just tell him this. This old white in Omaha coined you guys the Oreo today. And he'd be like, he's going to look at you and kind of give you that tongue tick like some of our buddies. Like, man, what are we doing here?
Yeah, he's not a nice guy.
He's a nice guy. He just plays mean.
Okay.
They if they control A gap to A gap, it's going to be a long day for Colorado. And if the running backs run as hard as they did in that game, that's you get 2 yards of push, you get a running back's got a 5-yard head start. Even at the point of contact, if they should drive their feet, that's 4 yards minimum. And that just kind of bleeds it and it milks. And if you can kind of grind, I thought Satterfield early in that game against UTEP was in a really, really good rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh man, I got some new toys I want to try out. Let's start trucking this thing.
It was still pretty. It was still pretty vanilla too.
I understand, but it was like, hey man, I've asked, and many others have asked for years. Let's get these linemen frothed up and show them we got confidence in them. And buddy, like that early on that UTEP game, I was like, we're about to roll these dudes.
Yeah. And
it was just, they did in the end, but controlling that A gap and then coming up with creative ways to help your tackles who struggled a little bit in the first game. If that's chips, if that's tight end staying and blocking, if that's, just little screens or draws to kind of keep defensive ends off balance, like that's how I would attack it offensively.
Quietly, do you see like this D-line that's coached by Sapp? Those guys got vertical a ton. They didn't seem to really embrace run technique against North Dakota State.
No.
You think they learned from week? Now, Sapp was a guy that you could obviously trap and stuff like that. He just was athletic enough. But do you think he's actually coaching it like that too?
It's hard for guys. It's hard for guys that are the freak athletes that Warren Sapp is to coach guys that are not, because he doesn't know that. Well, okay, I take that back. That wasn't his game, so it's not going to be the strength. I think he's done a good job there. Defensive line is better than it was last year. But for him to say, you're going to control this gap, and we're going to stay at the line of scrimmage, we're going to read this block, and then you're going to make the play, that wasn't him. He penetrated. Like his anticipation of the snap was unbelievable. But it also puts you in a position to get taken advantage of. Now, you could make hugely big plays in games like he did, many of them, but there's nobody in that room that's Warren Sapp.
I'm watching North Dakota State run power, and guys just get up the field. I'm like, what are we doing?
But it's risk reward, right? Their thought is, we are not very good here, so let's penetrate this and try to make chaos in a line. If we get penetration, they do have a puller, we're going to knock off the puller. If we get penetration and they're throwing it, we got the advantage. If we get penetration, they're trying to base block me, I might just be able to squirt through and make a play. So it's when you have undersized linemen, defensive linemen, you take that shot. And it's like I said, it's risk reward. Their linebackers behind them, though, are fast enough to cover anything. You know what I mean? Like, something does get by, if you get upfield, you get trapped or whatever, they're there. I mean, they're talented.
That's our guy, Matt Vrzal, former Husker owner of Pison's Pizzeria. Verse, we appreciate the time as always. We'll get some blackjack in soon, all right?
Deal.
I will. Apparently, that's my job.
Vesty McVesters.
Verse, we'll talk to you next week.
See you, Matty.
That is the show for the week. I got to tell you real quick, though, about our friends at Game Day Men's Health. It's not just a testosterone clinic like some of these other places are. They actually care about your health. And to show you that, they're giving free PSA screenings to test for prostate cancer during Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Call 402-235-6670 to make an appointment.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.